The story starts with a depressed teenager named Cha, who moves into a rundown apartment building called Green Home. His parents had recently died in an accident, and he was overwhelmed with grief. He goes to the rooftop, planning to jump, but can't bring himself to do it. While he hesitates, he sees a beautiful young woman named Eun-yu practicing ballet. The peaceful moment is broken when she steps on gum. She angrily asks Cha if he did it and tells him to go die somewhere else. The building is full of different people. Living above Cha is a young woman named Jisoo who wants to be a bassist. She works part-time jobs while composing music, dreaming of becoming famous. On her floor, she has a strange encounter with a woman pushing a baby carriage. The woman says her 1-year-old daughter is inside, but when Jisoo peeks, the carriage is empty. She makes an excuse and avoids getting on the elevator with the woman. Later, a man explains that the woman is a nice person whose child died, and she has been struggling ever since. This man is a literature teacher and a devout Catholic, but his intensity makes Jisoo uncomfortable. As the teacher gets off the elevator, he bumps into a man in a floral shirt with a large scar on his cheek. The scarred man, named Wook, ignores him and gets on the elevator. Inside Wook's apartment, another man is tied up with duct tape. Wook shoves a lit cigarette into the tied-up man's mouth, suggesting he holds a serious grudge against him. Meanwhile, in the security room, a resident is yelling at a guard for sleeping on the job. Feeling down, the guard is approached by a woman who says she just moved in from the rich Gangnam district. She gives him a box of fish, saying she doesn't like them. The guard accepts, but the fish are spoiled. A moment later, his nose starts bleeding heavily. He then goes up to the 14th floor to tell Cha to fill out his move-in paperwork. Cha says he'll do it later. The guard acts strangely, waiting outside Cha's door until the girl from the next apartment walks by and points out his nosebleed. He then leaves. That night, Cha is playing video games while the girl next door feeds her cat. She complains that she's starving because she's on a diet. She seems to be on the phone with her family, telling them she's been hearing things and getting nosebleeds lately. After the call, Cha can hear her breaking down and crying. Tired from gaming, Cha gets ready for bed, but gets a text from a delivery person. It says his package was left at his door because the guard wasn't there. He finds the package open and the instant noodle bags ripped apart, with noodles all over the floor. Cha follows the trail of noodles to his neighbor's open front door. Suddenly, a bloody hand reaches out of her apartment and grabs the severed head of her cat, whose body has been partially eaten. Terrified, Cha runs back to his room and hides under his covers. Soon, his doorbell rings. It's the girl next door, sounding panicked and asking for help. Cha answers using the video intercom. The girl cries, saying she came home to find her door unlocked, her apartment a mess, and her cat gone, with blood everywhere. She begs Cha to let her in. Cha is suspicious and refuses, offering to call the police, but his phone has no signal. To make sure she isn't the monster, Cha asks to see her hands to check for blood. At this, the girl's face turns pale and she panics. A second later, she starts screaming for him to open the door, her face looking evil as blood pours from her nose. Just as she's about to break in, she hears Jisoo's music from upstairs, gets distracted, and leaves. Cha grabs a makeshift club and goes out to see what's happening. He sees Wook coming down the stairs and tries to ask him if he saw a strange woman, but he faints. Upstairs, Jisoo is so into her music that she doesn't notice the chaos. When her doorbell rings, she thinks her music was too loud and goes to apologize. But when she looks through the peephole, she sees the horrifying face of her neighbor, who is now turned into a grotesque monster. The monster keeps saying she is hungry. When Jisoo refuses to open the door, the creature gets angry and starts banging on it. Jisoo grabs a baseball bat to protect herself. When she goes back to the door, the monster is gone, but Wook is standing there, which startles her. Jisoo tells Wook what happened. They notice a big hole in the window at the end of the hall where the monster probably escaped. To show his strength, Wook punches Jisoo's metal door, leaving a huge dent. That evening, a man named Lee, who is Eun-yu's brother, is getting ready for work and finds the elevator is broken. Others soon realize their phones have no service. To make things worse, they discover that all the building's exits have been locked. It seems someone has trapped them inside on purpose. A woman named Seo, a former Special Forces soldier who is now a firefighter, breaks down the lock to the control room. She hopes to use the landline phone to call for help, but it's dead too. The owner of the building's small supermarket finds the main power switch and announces they can now open the large metal shutter to get outside. As the good news spreads, everyone gathers at the exit. But as the shutter slowly rolls up, they see a giant monster standing just outside. The residents stare like it's a show, and one woman even takes a picture for social media. Before they can understand the danger, the monster's long tongue shoots out, grabs a security guard, and pulls him in, instantly killing him. Some people faint, and others are too scared to move. Only Lee reacts, grabbing a fire extinguisher to fight the monster off. He tells the supermarket owner to help help him close the shutter once the monster is pushed back. Just as they are about to close it, the extinguisher runs out. At that critical moment, Seo appears and tackles the monster out of the building, and Lee quickly pulls her back inside. With the monster gone for now, the supermarket owner complains to Seo that the government isn't doing anything. Lee tells everyone that there isn't just one monster. The fog outside is full of them, and getting caught means death. The story reveals that Cha is a 19-year-old high school student who became a shut-in, refusing to go to school or talk to anyone. He just played video games all day. His parents tried to take him on a family trip with his sister, but he refused. On the way, his parents argued about his situation, and his distracted father crashed their car into a truck, killing everyone inside. Before they left, his mother had made him a meal and told him to heat it up. He only shows up for the funeral, where he has a breakdown, screaming about how the small amount of inheritance money isn't enough for him to live on. He had to be carried out. Back in the present, Jisoo is watching over a sleeping Cha. She complains that Wook asked her to look after Cha and then just disappeared. Unaware of the danger, Eun-yu is about to go downstairs but hears a noise that startles her, and she sprains her ankle. Wook happens to be walking by. As things get awkward, the monster girl appears and attacks Wook, biting his shoulder. But Wook is incredibly strong. He kicks the monster into a wall and beats her until she stops moving. Seo and a soldier carry the dead guard's body to a storage room. The soldier doesn't want to, but Seo takes a picture of the body, saying his family deserves to know what happened. At the same time, Jisoo is also heading downstairs. She finds a man in a business suit holding a wine bottle, mumbling about how his boss betrayed him. As he gets angrier, he starts to transform. Seeing this, Jisoo hits him with her baseball bat. The man turns into a monster anyway. Just as he is about to attack her, the teacher shows up and slices off half the monster's head with a sword. They think it's dead, but it gets back up, even with its injury. It seems the monsters can't be killed easily. At the main entrance, Lee tells everyone to barricade the door. The woman from Gangnam begs him to wait because her daughter is still on her way home, but Lee says they have to protect the group. Just then, everyone gets an emergency text from the government. It warns them to stay away from anyone showing symptoms like nosebleeds, fainting, or aggression. The group is frozen with fear, and many want to just wait for help. A man with curly hair argues that no one is coming and that they should try to escape through the sealed garage. A soldier stops him, saying they need to secure the entrance first. The supermarket owner agrees, pointing out they don't know if there are more monsters on the other side of the stairwell door. Suddenly, a door opens and everyone backs away in fear as Wook walks out. They see the bite mark on his shoulder and think he is infected. The supermarket owner attacks Wook from behind with a stun gun, knocking him out. 8 hours later, Cha finally wakes up. The view from his window looks like the end of the world. Then his nose starts to bleed. At the same time, both he and Lee find a post from a blogger online. The post has pictures and says this isn't a disease, but a curse. It lists the symptoms: nosebleeds and seeing things that aren't there. The blogger, who says he is being hunted, tells anyone with symptoms to kill themselves. But he adds, if you want to survive, there is one important thing to remember. Just then, the internet cuts out, leaving them in suspense. Cha remembers the noodles he left outside his door and goes to check. He finds the noodles and the monster with half its head missing. Luckily, the monster can't see. Cha wants to grab a weapon nearby but knows any sound will alert it. He stays perfectly still until the monster wanders off. The supermarket owner and 2 other residents go to the storage room where Wook is being held. Not sure if he will turn into a monster, they decide to kill him just in case. The owner goes into the room wearing a gas mask and is startled by the dead guard's body. Wook, who was only pretending to be unconscious, suddenly headbutts the owner, knocking him out. Elsewhere, Jisoo and the teacher are looking for supplies. They pass Wook's room and hear someone inside saying 4 numbers. Jisoo guesses it's a lock combination. Inside, they find the man who was tied up. The man, a photographer who actually lives in the apartment, says Wook broke in and tied him up. The photographer asks what's going on, and Jisoo tells him it's a long story. As they leave, the photographer feels unsafe without a weapon, so he goes back to his room to get a hammer. Soon, they find another resident who has hanged himself. The sight reminds Jisoo of a friend who also took her own life. The teacher thinks the man gave up, but the photographer points out that the man has been dead for at least a week. When the teacher asks how he knows, the photographer refuses to say and goes back to his room. Cha thinks about killing himself while he is still human. As he looks out his window, he sees a man from the 12th floor climbing down a rope to get food for his 2 kids. The man doesn't see a monster watching him from nearby. Cha yells a warning, but it's too late. The man is attacked and and falls. Hearing the children crying for help, Cha feels he has to do something. He goes downstairs, but the monster spots him immediately and wraps around him like a snake. Just when Cha thinks it's over, the monster's head is blown off. The person who saved him is another resident from his floor who used a homemade cannon. The man communicates with Cha by writing, warning him that noise attracts the monsters and that they don't really die. Cha looks down and sees the monster's headless body is still moving. The man asks Cha if he wants to save the children, and Cha decides to be a hero. He follows the man's instructions and wears headphones with an active phone call, which will make static sounds when monsters are near. Cha makes it to the man's apartment. Turns out the man is a veteran in a wheelchair who is skilled at making weapons but can't move around. This means Cha has to rescue the children by himself. The veteran turns Cha's club into an electric baton with a blade, telling him it's for self-defense, not for killing the monsters. Cha asks about the cannon, but the veteran says he only has 3 shots left and is saving the last one for himself. With no other choice, Cha takes the electric baton and leaves. The monster with half a head is still in the hallway. Cha hides in a broken elevator to avoid it, but then the power goes out, leaving him in total darkness. He uses the chance to shock the monster and run. It follows the sound, but its tentacles can't find him. Cha uses its sensitive hearing against it by throwing bouncing balls as a distraction, then zaps it from behind, knocking it down for a moment. Lee asks Seo to watch the control room while he checks the power distribution room, thinking it's a local outage. Seo insists on going instead. Before she leaves, she takes supplies from the supermarket, which annoys the owner. Lee gives her a walkie-talkie and tells her to be careful. As Seo gets close to the power room, a woman with a small dog warns her not to go in because her dog is acting very scared. Still, Seo goes inside. Meanwhile, Cha finds the 2 children. As he is about to lead them to safety, his nose starts bleeding again. He's afraid he might turn into a monster, so he tells them to go on without him. He then fights a battle in his mind against his inner monster, remembering times he was bullied. His dark side taunts him, calling him a weakling. Overcome with frustration, Cha feels his monstrous urges getting stronger. Just then, a huge protein monster breaks through a door, and falling debris traps Cha. The children try to pull him free but aren't strong enough. As the monster reaches for them, Cha uses his remaining strength to grab its leg and tells the children to run to room 1408 and find the veteran. The children escape, but Cha is left to be beaten by the monster. Luckily, the teacher and Jisoo hear the noise and arrive just in time to wound the monster and save Cha. The 2 children run to the 14th floor. They run into the blind monster. The girl quickly covers her brother's mouth, and they stand perfectly still. To their horror, the protein monster also comes up to their floor. The blind monster senses the movement and attacks the muscular one. The kids use the distraction to climb to the 15th floor. The protein monster overpowers the other one and throws it out a window. The children knock on doors, but no one answers. As the protein monster gets closer, the strange woman with the empty baby carriage steps in its way. She begs it not to hurt the children but is kicked aside. Dazed, she sees an image of her dead child and remembers the accident that killed her. She tells the monster she knows her child is gone, but it attacks her again. At that moment, Cha and the teacher reach the children and tell them to run. The woman, however, has also turned into a monster. She jumps onto the protein monster's back, holding on to protect the children. Even as a monster, her love as a mother is still there. The teacher slashes at the protein monster, which throws the woman off. The teacher then tricks the monster into jumping through a window, and it falls to its death. Jisoo approaches the transformed woman. Seeing her monstrous form, she raises her bat, but the woman just asks where the children are. A moment later, she changes back to her human form. Cha takes the children to room 1408, and Jisoo brings the woman there too. The teacher and base girl pack their things and also head to room 1408 to regroup. On the other side of the building, Seo gets to the power distribution room and turns the power back on. A news broadcast appears on a TV, showing the South Korean president declaring a state of emergency. In the middle of his speech, the president himself turns into a monster, and the broadcast is cut off by the sound of gunfire. The realization that even the government is falling apart causes everyone to panic. At this point, Lee remembers that his sister, Eunyu, is still in her room upstairs with her sprained ankle. After treating her own injury, she had used a knife to cut her ballet skirt into bandages. Seo hasn't returned because she was attacked by a spider-like monster on her way out. She is now trapped in a web, hanging upside down from the ceiling. Downstairs, the survivors want food from the supermarket, but the owner locks the door, saying he's not giving anything away for free. Just as people start to get desperate, the photographer shows up with a box of food food and starts handing it out. The woman with the dog notices blood on the box and sees her dog acting scared, so she refuses the food. Lee uses the building's announcement system to call all survivors to the first floor, telling them to bring food, medicine, and weapons. The Gangnam woman uses the distraction to secretly unlock the main door. Her daughter has made it to the entrance, but the others hold the woman back to stop her from running out. The soldier, however, runs out to save the girl. He is killed by the long-tongued monster, which then kills the girl as well. The horrified residents can only watch as the monster eats her body. Lee struggles to barricade the door again, and the monster's tongue breaks through a metal cabinet, almost hitting him. The grieving Gangnam woman blames Lee for her daughter's death, screaming that she could have saved her. Realizing that hiding won't work forever, the teacher and Jisoo decide to go to the first floor to see what's happening. Cha volunteers to go with them. The veteran, worried for them, insists they take his homemade weapons. On the first floor, the survivors are reinforcing the entrance. The dog lady and the supermarket owner's wife talk about the Gangnam woman's loss. The dog lady also mentions that Seo's fiancé used to live in the building and that he died shortly before they were supposed to get married. Meanwhile, the spider monster is about to eat Seo. She manages to slip out of her coat and hide in a ventilation duct. The monster chases her, but Seo uses her agility to get away from it several times. As she's about to get out of the duct, the monster spits a web that wraps around her neck. Swinging back and forth, she kicks a glass window, breaking it. She grabs a piece of glass and cuts herself free. At that moment, her phone, which had fallen, starts to ring. Trapped behind a fence, she sees the caller ID, her dead fiancé. Since there's no phone signal, she knows she's hallucinating. Exhausted, Seo finally makes it back to the main group. As soon as she sees Lee, she walks up and punches him hard in the stomach. It turned out she was angry because of something that happened earlier. In the management room, Lee had seen a monster in the power distribution room on the security cameras but didn't tell her about it. The next morning, loud alarm sirens were heard all over the city. News reports announced that the country was in a state of emergency, and the military was now in charge of security. The military said that a lot of people had turned into strange creatures, but they didn't know why. They made it clear that you couldn't catch it from breathing the same air or from blood. However, anyone with symptoms like seeing things, hearing things, having a low body temperature, nosebleeds, or fainting had to be kept away from others. The creatures could heal very well, so it was important to kill them before they could get stronger. The government told the public to trust them, saying the military could handle it. But a crashed helicopter in the city showed a different story, suggesting the military was just trying to calm people down. While Cha and his two friends were going downstairs, they found a dead man. His body was still warm, so he had died recently. Jisoo found a bag of snacks in the dead man's pocket and gave it to Cha after their teacher said a prayer. Suddenly, a monster attacked Cha, knocking him off the stairs. He landed near Eunyu, who screamed when she saw him lying in a pool of his own blood. As Cha passed out, he had a dream that he was at his family's funeral. He knelt and cried, begging them not to leave him. Then, his relatives and friends appeared behind him, calling him a monster and dragging him away. Cha woke up from the nightmare and learned from Lee that he had fallen from the 9th floor, but he had completely healed in only 3 hours, which proved to everyone that he was infected. To decide what to do with Cha, Lee held a meeting for all the survivors that night to have a secret vote. The supermarket owner caused trouble again, threatening Cha with a knife and trying to get others to kill him before he could turn. Nobody would do it. The vote ended in a tie, with one spoiled ballot making the final decision. The supermarket owner couldn't accept it and refused to let a monster stay. But just then, his nose started bleeding heavily, a sure sign that he was also infected. The owner went quiet, covering his nose and saying he was just tired. As he tried to walk away, Cha stopped him and said that he had a right to vote, too. He then cast a vote to let himself stay. At that moment, the owner collapsed. Afterward, people whispered about whether they should kick both of them out. Since desire was what triggered the change, many figured the supermarket owner's greed had caused him to get infected. When he woke up, he asked Cha for advice, wanting to know how he had managed not to turn into a monster. Cha just told him to get a hold of himself. Seo found out from the dog lady that the soldier had died trying to save people. This upset her because he was one of the few strong fighters they had. The supermarket owner's wife gave Seo a can of food to help her get her strength back, but Seo, who looked like she might be pregnant, couldn't eat. The Gangnam woman stared at a photo of her daughter on her phone, overcome with sadness. Jisoo went to comfort her, giving her a bag of chocolate and saying that you need strength to grieve properly. In the bathroom, Jisoo looked at a baseball bat, which reminded her of the boy who had given her the bass guitar. He had taught her how to play baseball, and they were very close. The photo guy muttered to himself that he was still alive, smiling happily. It wasn't clear what he was so happy about, but then Wook showed up and started beating him without saying a word. The photo guy scrambled away, but managed to fight back for a second before running off. When he got to the other survivors, he lied and said he was infected. He wiped the blood from his nose, which was from Wook's punch, and asked to be locked up alone. Before he went into the room, the teacher asked if he had another reason for doing this, but the photo guy didn't answer. Wook found him and tried to drag him out, but the teacher stopped him. In the end, the photo guy looked at both of them and closed the door to the isolation room himself. On the second morning, Cha was surprised to wake up and see the photo guy next to him. The man seemed to be trying to get close to Cha, curious about what it was like to be infected and if it made him feel powerful. He wanted to know how Cha had survived a fall that should have killed him. The supermarket owner's wife secretly gave Seo a pregnancy test and told her to use it just to be sure. In room 1408, the strange woman was cutting vegetables when she felt something was wrong and started to transform. To keep the two children safe, she quickly locked herself in the bathroom. An hour later, she still hadn't come out. The little girl told the veteran, who had been busy with his weapons and hadn't noticed she was gone. He opened the bathroom door and found that the woman was turning into a giant womb, growing a new life inside it. It didn't seem like she could hurt anyone. Lee saw the good weapons that the teacher and the others had and found out there was a weapons expert in the building. He called Cha out of isolation, which annoyed the supermarket owner, who warned Cha that Lee was just going to use him. Lee was direct and told Cha he could help him escape, but only if he went on dangerous missions. His first job was to bring the veteran from the 14th floor down to the first floor. The veteran had planned to kill the strange woman before she fully transformed. She had told him she was infected and asked him to kill her if she changed. But when he saw the giant womb monster, he couldn't do it and quietly closed the door. During his fight with the photo guy, Wook had stolen a key from him. Even though people warned him not to, Wook was determined to open the locked staircase door to go upstairs, and it seemed to be connected to the key. Lee told Cha that the veteran was the main goal and the two children were less important and could be left behind if needed. Seo was angry when she heard Lee was using Cha. However, Cha agreed to do it. He understood his own situation. No matter how badly he was hurt, he would always heal. For him, turning into a monster was a fight inside his mind, and since he was very good at not changing, he was their best weapon. Lee told Seo they should use the people who were turning into monsters, but she didn't agree with him. He then showed her a pile of no votes he had ready to cheat the vote, but he never had to use them because more people voted no than he expected. He explained that people weren't letting Cha stay because they were kind, but because they were scared they might get infected too. Keeping Cha around was like a backup plan. Lee then showed Seo an article about the infection written by the blogger. Coincidentally, Seo had seen the same article on her fiancé's tablet, which suggested he was connected to the blogger. Meanwhile, Cha started to transform. In a daze, he opened the staircase door, wanting to kill monsters. Luckily, Wook showed up just in time to snap him out of it. But as Wook turned, he was grabbed by a creature with very long arms that moved incredibly fast. Just then, a masked girl with a bow and arrow shot the monster's hand, making it run away. Wook was alive, but the room behind him was full of dead bodies. The monster had been bringing people there to kill them. The masked girl was a caregiver named Yuri, and she was with an old man named Ngilseop. On the ground, they found a diary that belonged to the monster. It said that he was once a man who failed to grab his son's hand, and the boy died in an accident. He desperately wanted longer arms to save his son, and this desire turned him into a monster. After Wook woke up, Yuri tried to treat his wounds, but he just left without saying thank you, and Ngilseop told her not to worry about it. She then noticed Cha's injuries and offered to help, but he refused. And Ngilseop realized Cha was infected and warned Yuri to stay back while pointing a crossbow at Cha. They then watched as the wounds on Cha's face healed by themselves. And Ngilseop told Cha to leave, but as he turned to go, he heard Ngilseop laugh. He was just joking. When he learned Cha was going to the 14th floor, and Ngilseop offered to help. Back in the isolation room, the supermarket owner's wife watched her husband sleep with a knife hidden behind her back. Her husband was not only selfish but also hit her. She told him she would kill him after she became a monster, but then decided that was too easy and she'd rather do it while she was still human. The man didn't believe her. It seemed like she was just trying to scare him, and in the end, she didn't do it. As she left, the photo guy asked where Wook was. When he heard Wook had gone upstairs, the photo guy panicked, realizing he had lost his keys. He frantically searched for them, afraid of what Wook might find. Using the stolen keys, Wook opened a metal door and found a darkroom for developing photos. It turned out the photo guy was a monster who used his volunteer work to get close to children. He had kidnapped and hurt a little girl and had taken many photos of what he did. Cha, Yuri, and Ngilsiop made it to room 1408. When they asked about the strange woman, they only found the giant womb creature in the bathroom. They could just barely see a large baby inside and could sometimes hear it crying. Meanwhile, Seo finally took the pregnancy test, and it was positive. The teacher and Jisoo didn't want to just wait to die, so they looked for a way to signal for help. They found a large white cloth, sprayed us on it in red paint, and hung it outside the building. Worried that his dark secret was about to be discovered, the photo guy cut his own hand to prove to everyone that he wasn't infected, since he couldn't heal quickly. Seeing this, the others let him out of isolation. He ignored them and ran to a bathroom stall to get a hidden hammer, the weapon he had used before. Wook, full of rage, got to the first floor and bumped into the teacher, dropping his phone but not stopping to pick it up. Before he could get to the photo guy, the man ambushed him, hitting Wook in the head with the hammer. Even with blood pouring down his face, Wook easily overpowered him and took the hammer. The photo guy stumbled toward the others, calling Wook a murderer, but no one dared to get involved. Wook, enraged, smashed the hammer into the photo guy's face over and over. Still not done, he dragged the body to the entrance and took it out into the rain, planning to feed it to the long-tongued monster. Afterward, weak from his injuries, Wook stumbled back to the entrance. He wasn't planning on coming back in and just wanted to close the door, feeling like he didn't belong anymore. But the teacher stopped him. It was then that they saw Wook had brought back the bodies of the soldier and the girl. He looked tough, but deep down he was a good person. The pain from his injuries finally became too much and he passed out. The Gangnam woman, who had been holding in her sadness for so long, finally let it all out. She hugged the two children, who had also lost their families, and the three of them cried together. The group buried the soldier and the girl in an empty room, and Ngilsiop saluted the soldier's grave and revealed that he was also a retired soldier. Seo tried to comfort the Gangnam woman, who promised to be strong for the children. The supermarket owner's wife told Seo she was worried about her being pregnant alone, but Seo asked her to keep it a secret. Once he was on the first floor, the veteran started working on new weapons. Lee gave Cha a new mission, telling him to take an electric gun to the building's outer staircase. Meanwhile, the long-tongued monster was eating when the protein monster suddenly appeared. It grabbed the creature like it was a bug, showing it was on a whole other level of strength. The photo guy got what he deserved, but Wook hated him so much because of his own past. When Wook was a teenager, his father was killed in a fire set by a crazy person who also gave Wook the scars on his face. The court let the killer go. One night, Wook found him and asked why he set the fire. The man said it was for fun and showed no regret. In a rage, Wook stabbed and killed him. Later, a farmer hired Wook to find his daughter who had been kidnapped and killed. The police weren't doing anything, so he wanted Wook to get revenge. This is why Wook hated the photo guy so much. He reminded him of the man who killed his father. When Wook woke up, he didn't recognize Yuri next to him and grabbed her by the neck, but stopped just in time. Yuri had an asthma attack and ran to the door to use her inhaler. And Ngilsiop was outside watching things through binoculars from his motorcycle. Yuri saw him and told him to look but not to get any ideas. The group argued about whether to let Wook stay. Some said he was right to kill the photo guy, while the curly-haired man was afraid he might kill again. Wook walked over, and the man immediately shut up. To thank Wook for bringing her daughter's body back, the Gangnam woman offered him her jewelry, but he had already walked away, showing he wasn't a killer who cared about money. The teacher gave Wook his phone back and, after seeing the text between him and the farmer, knew Wook was a good person and said he should stay. He asked Wook why he had burned the money the farmer paid him. Wook said he couldn't finish the job, hinting that he had seen the horrible photos of the tortured girl. Elsewhere, Jisoo came out of the bathroom with a nosebleed, her body twisted as if she were infected. But she walked right into a trap set by the group. Seo walked up to her with an axe, and Unyu clapped, saying it was just for fun. They were practicing. Seo went alone to the power room to find the lost cell phone. Lee said she was too independent to be part of the group. Seo now believed her fiancé was the blogger and decided to leave the apartment to find out more. She got the motorcycle keys from Ngilsiop and sped away. To save energy, Ngilsiop established a set of rules for Green Home. Patrol in teams of at least 2, report anything strange immediately, ration food to 1 meal a day, and check everyone's temperature at 8 p.m. every night to catch infections early. Cha, who had been out all day, finally came back with supplies. After finishing his job, he went back to the isolation room as he was told. The veteran defended him, saying there was no reason to lock him up since he hadn't hurt anyone. Lee argued that Cha was still a potential threat and had to be kept separate. When Cha had returned that morning, they had given him a note with his daily job: set up a warning system of phishing flashing lines with bells and balloons and search every room for things people wanted. He risked his life for them, only to bring back things like sunscreen, dog food, and sanitary pads. He soon ran into a speed monster downstairs. In the supermarket, the others worried about him. The dog lady was scared he was in danger, but the curly-haired man said coldly that he would just heal overnight anyway. Just then, a patroller's whistle blew. A hairy monster was approaching. The supermarket owner's wife realized it was her husband, who was bald and always wore a wig. His obsession with his hair likely caused him to change this way. She walked toward him with a club, ready to deal with him herself. After she hit him once, her husband seemed to become himself again. She asked if he had any last words, and he just asked her to end his pain. In front of everyone, she beat him to death. Afterward, she was heartbroken. Before he died, her husband had said, "Sorry," words she had waited 30 years to hear. Cha returned to see the supermarket owner dead. His dark side came back, telling him that this was how he would end up too. Cha pushed the evil thoughts away, left the supplies, and walked off alone. Seo went to the hospital where her fiancé had worked. A fire had supposedly killed him, but his body was never found. Seo had quit her job to search the scene herself. Back in the present, she found his tablet and an article by the blogger in his notes. Her fiancé was the blogger. He had discovered the transformations early on and volunteered to be a test subject. While Lee and Cha had only read part of the article, Seo now read the rest. Through his own experiments, her fiancé found out that if you survive for 15 days, your condition becomes stable, and you turn into a special kind of infected person. As Seo was reading, she was surrounded by soldiers who took her away. To save power, the building's electricity was cut off, which caused a panic. With water and food running low, Unyu tried to keep everyone's spirits up. In his room, Cha fought his dark self again, who tried to trick him into turning into a monster by tempting him with his desires. Once again, he beat it with his willpower. When he woke up, Unyu was there. She saw the wounds he had given himself and told him to act tough so others wouldn't pick on him. She left him a pack of band-aids. Cha didn't get it, since his ability to heal made them useless. She was trying to show others that he still felt terrible pain, even if he couldn't die. She then told Lee and Jisoo to stop ordering Cha around, which led to a fight where Lee slapped his sister. Lee told Cha the apartment was no longer safe and they needed a new plan to escape. Cha went to the underground parking lot alone but was attacked by a spider monster. Seo, now a prisoner of the military, learned that her fiancé was part of their experiments. Although he chose to die, he had probably turned into a monster. The military planned to kill Seo so she couldn't tell anyone, but she told them she knew someone who could resist turning into a monster. This was exactly what they were looking for. She agreed to lead them to Cha if they would let her and her unborn child live. After the attack, Cha was in a similar situation to Seo, wrapped in spider webs and hanging upside down, covered in green slime. Lee, Wook, and others formed a rescue team and went to the parking lot. The slime sensed them and pulled away from Cha's body. They saw the speed monster was also there, sleeping. They tried to sneak past it, but the spider monster had already gotten into the building and was going after the little girl. Just in time, the veteran showed up with his cannon, but because he was in a wheelchair, he was in danger, and the girl was captured. In the parking lot, the group rescued an unconscious Cha. As they were about to leave, Jisoo got a stomach cramp, which made her drop some weapons and wake up the speed monster. Lee shot one of its eyes out, but was knocked away. To buy them some time, Lee set off a car alarm to distract it. As the monster chased them, Lee drove a van into it, giving everyone a chance to jump in. The van sped through the chaotic parking lot, running into more monsters. They climbed onto the van, and one grabbed Jisoo's hair. The teacher quickly cut her hair with his sword. The van eventually crashed, and everyone ran. The monster appeared again, but Ngil-seop showed up with a flamethrower and burned the creatures to ash, which they couldn't heal from. Meanwhile, the veteran was still fighting the spider monster. He was hurt, and the little girl was captured. At the last second, Yuri and Unyu worked together to trap the monster. The little girl threw a burning lighter at it, but it wasn't enough. Just in time, Cha and the others returned. He stabbed his electric knife into the monster, shocking it until it stopped moving. The monster finally stopped moving. Even though Cha had saved everyone, they just stared at him and kept their distance, not daring to get closer. The woman, however, apologized to Cha. This time, Lee let Cha decide for himself if he wanted to go back to the isolation room. In the end, feeling like he didn't belong, Cha chose to go back inside. At dinner, he took his food to eat somewhere else but unexpectedly ran into Wook, who always kept to himself. The awkward feeling was broken when Ngil-seop arrived and managed to ease the tension between them. Then, Ngil-seop lifted his shirt and showed them a long scar across his stomach from a surgery. Later that night, the curly-haired man secretly went to the bathhouse for a shower, complaining that they could only only wash once every 3 days to save water. As he was washing, the water suddenly turned black. This was a clear sign that the building's water was now dirty and unsafe. The apartment was no longer a safe place to live. Lee took the veteran to the parking lot, hoping he could fix up one of the cars for their escape before things got worse. A panicked young man overheard them and ran to the management room, where he discovered their supplies were almost gone. Not wanting to just wait and die, the young man ran to the convenience store. He pulled out a knife and threatened the others to give him the car keys so he could leave by himself. His desperate attempt didn't last long. Wook easily threw him out of the store like he was a child. Being thrown out like that caused the young man to have a complete breakdown. At this point, Gilseop stepped in and told him that people who let fear make them cause trouble are always the first to die. Scared by this warning, the young man calmed down. The growing problems in the apartment couldn't be hidden anymore. Lee told everyone the plan. They only had 5 days of food left, so they had to go out and find more. Everyone thought Cha would be sent on the mission, but Lee gave the job to Wook instead. At first, Wook didn't want to go, since he had only agreed to help the teacher manage their food. But after Lee convinced him, Wook started to reconsider. Just then, the young man came over to apologize, and Wook, in turn, said sorry for being so rough with him earlier. Later, Jisoo was playing a song by herself when Cha found her. He told her he hoped she would keep playing because her song made him feel at home. The name Sweet Home came to his mind, and just like that, the song had a title. But this happy moment was quickly followed by trouble. Earlier, when she had helped rescue Cha in the parking lot, Jisoo had started to feel sick. Now she finally collapsed, her face pale. She knocked desperately on the bathroom door, but Eun-yu, who was just sitting around inside, refused to open it. After a while, the noise outside stopped. When Eun-yu finally opened the door, she found Jisoo unconscious on the floor. Lee, who had gone to medical school, figured out she had appendicitis and needed surgery right away. But he had no real-life experience and none of the right medical tools, so he didn't know what to do. Wook volunteered to go out and find the supplies, and Yuri and Cha decided to go with him. As they left, Cha was hit with memories from his past. He used to be a happy young man. One day, a rich kid transferred to his school. A basketball hit the new student and knocked him down. Cha yelled at the person who threw it and helped the rich kid up. He had no idea this one act of kindness would start a nightmare. The next day, the rich student brought a group of classmates to bully Cha. He even forced a shy boy with glasses to join in, threatening to kill anyone who spoke to Cha. From that day on, Cha was completely alone at school. He couldn't fight back because his father worked for the rich student's family, and if he did anything, his dad would be fired. Cha's own family didn't understand what he was going through. His mother and sister both took his father's side, saying it was for the good of the family. Cha even heard his sister tell her friends that he wasn't her brother. As Cha's bullying continued, the rich student started picking on the boy with glasses instead. The boy's mother desperately needed money for an operation. The rich student told him he would pay for it if the boy jumped in front of a moving car. Just as the boy was about to step into the road, Cha shoved the rich student in front of the car instead. The car stopped just in time, so no one was seriously hurt. But the results were bad. Cha's father lost his job, and the boy's mother died. The boy wasn't thankful at all. He blamed Cha, thinking his mother might have lived if Cha hadn't interfered. Cha had always wanted to be a good person, but these events made him feel completely powerless. He fell into a deep depression, stopped going to school, and became a shut-in who just played video games all day. Back in the present, the people in the apartment started setting up a table for the surgery while Cha's group drove off in a modified car. They didn't get far before they got into a huge crash. The cause was the protein monster, which had now grown many times bigger. It had captured the long-tongued monster earlier and had probably kept eating people and other creatures, which made it grow so huge. The people in the apartment heard the crash and knew the group was in trouble. They couldn't wait any longer. Jisoo had surgery without any medicine to numb the pain. Lee warned her it was very risky and that she would probably get an infection afterward. She agreed to do it, so he started the surgery. The moment he made the first cut, Jisoo fainted from the terrible pain. Outside, and Gilseop saw the others were in danger and ran out with his flamethrower. While the monster was distracted by the flames, and Gilseop helped Cha, who had been thrown from the car. The monster, however, quickly blocked their escape, and Gilseop, who seemed to be very sick, coughed up blood. He was planning to sacrifice himself to save Cha, but suddenly Seo appeared, driving a fire truck. She had been let go by the military. The truck slammed right into the protein monster, but it didn't seem to do much. The monster fought back, grabbing Seo from the driver's seat and throwing her aside before starting to shake the truck wildly. Luckily, Seo's training and courage kicked in. She moved to the side of the truck, climbed back into the driver's seat, and started backing up. While Seo fought the monster, Wook rescued his his friends who were trapped in the wrecked car. Moments later, the car exploded. After being hit by the fire truck over and over, the monster finally fell into the ruins nearby. Seeing her chance, Seo knocked down a burning billboard, which landed on the monster and finally killed it. Although everyone was hurt in the fight, no one was seriously injured. When they got back to the apartment, Lee had already finished the surgery. He told the teacher that Jisoo's survival was now up to fate. To make up for losing and Gil-seop's motorcycle, Seo brought back an asthma inhaler for Yuri. Before all this happened, Yuri had taken care of the old man, and they were like a father and daughter. Seo found Cha and asked him about being infected. What were the first signs, and how had he survived for so long? Cha was a little confused by her questions and could only say that he survived because he still wanted to live. Seo then told him that the military was doing secret experiments, watching people as they fought off turning into monsters, hoping to find a cure. But all the test subjects had either died or completely transformed. Only one person had successfully survived for 15 days before disappearing. The military, she warned, would probably come for Cha next. During dinner, the supermarket lady revealed that she had become infected. Worried she would hurt others, she wanted to leave, but everyone voted for her to stay in the apartment in quarantine. Seeing Cha broke her heart because she now understood what he had been going through. She regretted not being able to help him and left crying. In the shower, Seo stared at the locator in her hand, unsure what to do. Pressing the button would tell the military where they were, and Cha would soon be taken away for experiments. As she thought about it, a man who looked like a soldier burst into the shower room. Even though she was undressed, Seo's fighting skills were as good as ever, and she quickly took the intruder down. In another room, everyone was gathered and listening to Gil-seop's stories. The Gangnam woman brought out a bottle of fruit wine to cheer everyone up. Suddenly, the soldier Seo had taken down rushed in. Seeing the fruit wine, he lunged for the fruit inside, looking like he was starving. From his broken words, they figured out that he had just escaped from something terrifying. As Seo tried to question the upset soldier, his walkie-talkie made a crackling sound, and an arrogant man's voice came through. Terrified, the soldier tried to run but was held back. Seeing how scared he was, Seo quickly destroyed the walkie-talkie and had everyone take down the SOS sign from the building. If outsiders found out there were survivors here, it would lead to a bloodbath. Seo went to the isolation room to visit the supermarket lady, telling her she only needed to hold on for 15 days to become stable. But just then, the lady's symptoms got worse, and her nose started bleeding. At that moment, the mutated security guard, who had been drawn by the smell of rotting fish, suddenly appeared. He took the elevator to the first floor, and Cha and the others saw him. They had to get there before he did. Wook was trapped by a monster on his way down, so Cha was their only hope. To get there as fast as he could, he jumped down several floors, breaking his leg. He couldn't heal completely, so he was forced to crawl. The Gangnam woman, thinking Cha had finished a mission and come back, went to the elevator. To her horror, the security guard came out, carrying a lawnmower on his back and covered in disgusting flies. Just as he was about to kill her, the teacher appeared, blocking the lawnmower with his sword. But he was no match for the power tool. The guard sliced off the teacher's arm and broke his sword. The teacher got back up and stabbed the guard with the broken blade, then dragged him back into the elevator. As the doors opened and closed, the two fought until their last breath. Knowing he couldn't kill the monster guard by fighting alone, the teacher signaled for the young man to throw a Molotov cocktail. But the boy was too scared to move. Seeing this, Lee grabbed the Molotov and threw it into the elevator, setting both the teacher and the security guard on fire. The horrible scene made everyone cry. Later, they held a small funeral for the teacher. Jisoo, who had just woken up from her surgery, stood at the back of the crowd before leaving alone. She couldn't accept what had happened and fell into despair. Unyu offered her a bag of chocolate, but she pushed her away, believing that everyone who got close to her ended up dying. The boy who liked her had killed himself, and now the teacher who had cared for her was dead. To cheer her up, Unyu shared her own story. She and Lee were not real siblings. She had asked her parents to take her to a performance, and on the way, they got into the car accident that killed both her parents and Lee's. The two orphans were left to take care of each other. Lee had quit school to work and pay for her ballet lessons. To repay him, she had studied hard, but an ankle injury now meant she couldn't do difficult dance moves. After comforting her, she gave the teacher's broken sword to Jisoo. The teacher had been the first person to accept Wook, and his death left a huge hole. Wook poured a bottle of wine on the teacher's grave to remember him. Meanwhile, it was the 10th day of the supermarket lady's fight against turning into a monster. In 5 more days, she could become a special infected person. She kept telling herself that she could make it. The military found a group of their dead soldiers who had been killed by the same gang they heard on the radio. The gang had stolen an armored vehicle and was now heading toward Green Home. In the observation room, and Gilseop told Seo that he thought there was a bunker-like shelter under the apartment. If they could find it, they would be safe. Just then, they saw the armored vehicle speeding toward them. Seo looked at the tracker in her hand. She hadn't pressed it, so the military shouldn't know they were here. But Gilseop warned her that in times like these, you couldn't even trust soldiers. Before the residents could get ready, the armored vehicle smashed through the entrance. A group of bandits got out. Lee stabbed the soldier who was trying to run away several times, then cut off his fingers to try and open a locked case, but it didn't work. They drew a circle on the ground and ordered the survivors to get inside it. Lee then sent his men to search the building. During the search, Gilseop was caught while helping Wook hide. The veteran was also caught. The little boy was saved by the green slime monster and barely escaped. A woman accidentally stepped out of the circle and was shot. The ruthless bandit planned to drag her away, but she was already dead. Faced with these thugs, everyone was filled with helpless anger. A mean-looking thug found the weakened base girl. He poked at her surgery wounds with a rod and even licked her blood, showing what a sick person he was. Just as he was about to do more, his partner, a man named Jung Myung, appeared and told him the boss wanted to see him, which let Jisoo escape. The thug soon realized he'd been tricked. Lee asked the bandit leader where they came from. Lee said they found a church that was heavily protected, but when they broke in, almost everyone inside was dead, with no signs of monster attacks. He guessed they had killed each other, deciding that humans are scarier than monsters. Seo remembered the gun she had hidden in the ventilation duct, but it was gone. Wook had found it and was now armed. At a critical moment, Seo appeared and took down a thug with her bare hands. They then met up with the little boy. Because the slime monster had saved him, Wook did not harm it. The bandit leader was impressed that Lee could manage such a group of survivors and offered him a spot on his team. Pretending to agree to protect the others, Lee took them to see the quarantined supermarket lady. The ruthless bandits shot her dead as soon as they saw she was infected. While Lee was distracted, the survivors got ready to fight back, but he threatened Lee's life, forcing them to stop. At that moment, the supermarket lady came back to life. As she moved to kill Lee, Cha blocked the attack with his own body and was forced to strangle her to death. When the bandit leader found out Cha was a special infected, he became interested and took him to the rooftop to torture him. Downstairs, the nasty thug went after Yuri, ordering her to the operating room. As he was about to attack her, Jisoo attacked him with the broken knife, but was quickly overpowered. While he was distracted, the thug didn't see Yuri behind him, who killed him. Having never killed before, Yuri was shaken and had an asthma attack, dropping her medicine. Just as she was about to pass out, Wook appeared and helped her. She told him she had killed someone, but he comforted her, saying the man wasn't really human. Seo got to the first floor and killed the thug on guard. Everyone tried to escape, but another thug blocked them. He shot and killed a survivor, forcing Seo to drop her weapon. He then started beating her as she desperately tried to protect her stomach and her unborn child. This made the other survivors furious. They ganged up on him and managed to kill him. As they cleaned up, the veteran's nose began to bleed. On the rooftop, the bandit leader was thinking of different ways to torture and kill Cha. Just as he was about to do something, Cha shoved his hand into Lee's chest and threw him off the building. A henchman shot Jung Myung in the neck, but he healed instantly and killed his attacker, revealing that he was also a special infected. Seeing this, the other thug backed down, and Jung Myung let him live. Jung Myung held out a bloody hand to Cha for a handshake, but at that moment, a military helicopter flew over, dropping red flyers. They were announcements telling people to report special infected individuals. Cha asked Jung Myung why he killed his own men. Jung Myung said he was like a wolf hiding among sheep, pretending to be one of them for fun before killing them. He saw it as a rule of survival. Cha argued that not all monsters are bad and took Jung Myung to see the womb-like creature on the 14th floor. Jung Myung agreed that some monsters don't hurt people, but asked if any humans wouldn't harm monsters, pointing to the military's announcement as proof. He warned Cha that his friends would betray him for the promise of safety, because humans can't be trusted. As they went down, Jung Myung made Cha walk in front. On the first floor, the survivors aimed their guns at the elevator. Lee chose to trust Cha, but the others kept their weapons pointed at Jung Myung. Cha asked them to lower their guns, explaining that Jung Myung had saved him. Jung Myung then suggested that they find others like them, claiming the people in the apartment were just using Cha. He revealed that he had been part of the military's experiments. He thought he had a disease and volunteered, only to be frozen, stabbed, and burned. He finally understood that he was the monster. His true form was a blood-like liquid that could take over dead bodies. After he went crazy in the lab and killed the scientists, he came to believe he was a purer, better being. He told Cha to accept that humans and monsters could not live together. On the other hand, even though the little boy begged them not to, a survivor burned the slime monster, arguing that even if it had saved them once, it could still turn on them. Cha found this hard to accept. Lee showed Unyu the military announcement, and she thought he was planning to betray Cha. Lee explained that in a world like this, you can't make absolute promises of safety. He hadn't made a decision and wanted to know what Cha thought. But after what happened with the slime monster, Cha grew distant and wouldn't talk to him. Jung Myong told Lee and Seo that the military's final plan was to bomb entire areas because they couldn't tell humans and monsters apart. Reporting an infected person wouldn't guarantee safety. Seo confessed to Lee that the military gave her a locator, which she hadn't used and had hidden in a drawer. But their conversation was overheard by the curly-haired man, who later secretly pressed the button, not wanting to die there. Elsewhere, and Gilsip was digging a hole on the first floor, sure that a secret passage was there. Yuri came over but had an asthma attack and fainted. They were out of medicine. Wook had no choice but to carry her on his back to find medicine outside. They were stopped by Jung Myong, who thought they were going to report them. After knocking Wook down, Jung Myong took the car keys. Cha, believing they wouldn't betray the group, took the keys back and told them to go. This made Jung Myong furious. As Wook carried Yuri away, Jung Myong shot and killed them both. He then started killing the rest of the residents. Cha tried to stop him but was thrown across the room. A resident who had always been shy became a hero, taking a bullet for the dog lady and dying to save her. Seo fired several shots at Jung Myong, but he healed instantly. Cha finally saw Jung Myong's true nature, and the two began a fierce battle. Cha was no match for him. Jung Myong revealed that the supermarket lady hadn't died when Cha strangled her. She only died after her body was burned. After beating Cha, Jung Myong got ready to kill the others. Just then, a solar eclipse happened, and Cha's body began to change. He started to evolve. A giant wing grew out of his arm, turning him into a dark angel. Seeing this, Jung Myong became overjoyed. The wing wrapped around him, and even though Cha had only partially evolved, his new power was enough to kill Jung Myong easily. But Cha had completely lost control and turned on the other survivors. The veteran used his own body to stop him, and the wing stabbed right through him. The shock brought Cha back to his senses, and he broke down in despair before collapsing. The veteran stopped breathing. In front of the apartment, Wook used his last bit of strength to carry Yuri to the car before collapsing at the door. Cha woke up with no memory. Looking at the veteran's lifeless body, he couldn't remember who he was, but flashes of their time together brought tears to his eyes. The others decided not to tell him the truth, thinking it was better for him not to remember. The little boy was heartbroken over the death of the slime monster, thinking it might have been their father who had turned. His sister preferred to believe their father was dead rather than a monster, and they argued about it. And Gilseop then remembered that the veteran had given him a key after he got infected. Inside a cabinet, he found a box with a handmade medal, a gift for the siblings. After they put on the medals, the brother and sister finally made up. The next morning, they found that Gilseop had died peacefully in his sleep. While burying him, Seo found that the hole he had been digging led to the secret underground passage. What no one knew was that Jung Myong had not died. Cha had only destroyed the body he was using. Now just a liquid-like being, Jung Myong drove away in an armored car. That night, it started snowing heavily. The military surrounded the apartment, promising the survivors a ride to a safe camp if they handed over the infected. Everyone hoped Cha would stay, but Cha with no memory wanted to leave. The little boy wrapped a scarf around his arm to keep him warm. Meanwhile, a thug went to the basement to flip a switch, hoping to escape, but he caused an explosion and died. Hearing the blast, the military thought the residents were fighting back and opened fire. Everyone was forced to hide in the underground passage. Unyu was worried because she didn't see Cha. Lee decided to go find him, promising his sister he would come back safely. He found Cha and once again gave him a choice. In the end, Cha walked out into the snow, and Lee did not return to the passage. Unyu realized her brother had lied to her. Alone in the management room, Lee looked at a family picture, with tears in his eyes. His nose began to bleed. He was infected and chose to stay behind. Outside, Cha walked slowly as the military shot at him. Flashes of his time with the apartment residents filled his mind, and it seemed like he was getting his memory back. In the secret passage, everyone searched for an exit. With the help of a pet dog, they found their way out into the daylight and got on military trucks. But Seo joined the military, determined to find out what happened to her fiancé. Cha woke up in an armored vehicle, his wounds healed. The driver was Wook, but his scars were gone. It seemed this wasn't the real Wook, but Jung Myong using his body, and his healing powers had fixed the scars. This showed that the story of the special infected was far from over. That wraps up Season 1. Last season, the main character, Cha, was taken from his apartment building in an armored truck by Wook. Wook was a guy with scars who was supposed to be dead, but a monster had taken over his body and healed his scars. The mysterious guy, Jung Myung, didn't actually die when Cha fought him. Instead, he turned into a pool of blood, took over the truck, and revealed that he was the one controlling Wook's body. In the original comic, Jung Myung has a split personality, one good and one evil. Just like Cha, he survived the first 15 days of being infected. This makes him a special infected, meaning he's half human and half monster. Jung Myung thinks special infected can't live with normal humans, so he kidnaps Cha to help him find others like them and start a war against the rest of the world. Meanwhile, at the main military lab, a weird scientist named Dr. Lim is trying to make a vaccine to stop the monster virus. He's testing it on an infected person who is actually his friend. Because of these experiments, his friend now looks like a walking corpse. The tests aren't working, so the bosses think it's a waste of time and tell Dr. Lim to kill the test subject. Dr. Lim refuses and gives a crazy reason. He says humans have ruled the world for thousands of years, and it's time for a new top predator. He thinks humans are the disease and monsters are the cure. Back to Cha. He wakes up and realizes Jung Myung is controlling Wook's body. Wanting revenge for Wook, Cha gets mad and attacks him, starting a massive fistfight instead of talking it out. Since Jung Myung is just using Wook's body, he easily snaps a broken nose back into place. Cha holds back because he doesn't want to ruin his friend's body, and he gets beaten up pretty badly because of it. Cha manages to rip off the steering wheel, but Jung Myung shoots out a tentacle that stabs Cha and pins him to the truck. At the same time, the military sends a heavily armed team to hunt them down. One of the soldiers is Seo, a former Special Forces member. The military blows up a bridge to stop the truck, hoping they'll give up, but Jung Myung doesn't care. He hits the gas and jumps the heavy truck right over the broken bridge. The soldiers chasing them refuse to make the crazy jump and stop at the edge, losing track of them. Seo learns that making a cure completely depends on using the special infected. The military had caught a few before, but most died during crazy science experiments. Since the lab needs new test subjects, the bosses give strict orders to capture Jung Myung and Cha alive. Aside from Seo and Cha, the other green apartment survivors were checked and put on military buses heading to a safe camp. But being with the military didn't mean they were actually safe. If anyone showed even the smallest sign of being infected, like a fever or a bloody nose, they were killed on the spot. On the way, a man's nose started bleeding a lot. He tried to hide it, but a guard saw him. His friend panicked and tried to explain that the man just had blood cancer, not the monster virus. The soldiers pretended to take him for a medical check, but they shot him dead as soon as he was in their truck. They waited, and the dead man didn't turn into a monster, proving he was just sick. Still, the soldiers had a strict better safe than sorry rule and didn't care about killing an innocent person. When the victim's friend demanded to know why they did it, the soldiers beat him to the ground. A cold-hearted soldier took off his hat and beat the man until he stopped moving. The dead man's bride, still in her wedding dress, fell next to his body crying. Everyone else was too scared to do anything. The only person who tried to help was an old woman who jumped in front of the cold-hearted soldier and begged him to stop. Sadly, this cruel soldier was actually her own son, who used to be a kind kid. Near the edge of the camp, some survivors were clearing ruined buildings when they heard a creepy children's song. It gave everyone the chills. Suddenly, a giant, lizard-like monster jumped out of the rubble, could jump super high and climb straight up walls. The soldiers started shooting, but the monster was fast and easily dodged the bullets. Surprisingly, the monster completely ignored the scared people. The only people bleeding were the ones accidentally shot by the careless soldiers. Not caring about the innocent people at all, the soldiers threw a bomb into a train car where they thought the monster was hiding. The blast killed all the people inside, but the monster was sitting safely on the roof, totally fine. Total chaos broke out. One soldier tried to burn the monster alive with a flamethrower, but the fire only killed more innocent people. In the middle of this mess, the cold-hearted soldier found his mother's dead body. Heartbroken, he pointed his gun at his own head and pulled the trigger, dying while holding her. Yoon Yu, the former ballerina, quickly grabbed his gun and hid it. Soon after, she managed to sneak onto one of the military trucks leaving the area. Away from the running crowd, a little girl stood crying, looking for her mom. Her crying caught the lizard monster's attention. Quickly picked her up, but surprisingly, it tried to calm her down. The soldiers started shooting at the monster again. Using its thick, bulletproof skin, the monster protected the little girl and looked through the crowd until it found her mom. As the mom ran over, the monster gently put the child down. Unlike the cruel soldiers, this scary monster actually showed kindness. The monster watched them reunite and looked relieved, but the soldiers kept shooting it. Even though it roared in pain, the monster refused to fight back. Just as the lead officer was about to fire a deadly shot, an explosion went off in the ruins. The hurt monster ran toward the noise. Its own baby was hiding in that rubble. Soldiers climbed onto the monster's back and shot it up close, but the mother monster ran forward wildly to save her baby. Sadly, she was too late. The soldiers had already caught it. They told the mother monster to stop moving if she wanted her baby to live. Putting her baby first, she actually stopped. In the end, while her trapped baby cried, the soldiers burned the mother monster alive until she stopped moving. Deeply touched by the mother monster's sacrifice, the captain stopped attacking the baby monster and let it run away. When another soldier got mad and asked why, the captain explained their real rules. They are only allowed to kill monsters that are a direct threat to humans. He reminded everyone that this is the whole reason the Crow platoon was created, to handle dangerous monsters while protecting the new human camps. Meanwhile, Jung Myung took Cha to an abandoned shopping mall. Getting ready to meet others like them, he changed into a nice new suit. Jung Myung hated the term special infected and said they should be called new humans. He claimed he only took Cha to save him and give him true freedom, saying he knew how terrible it was to be locked up by the military as a cure. Cha disagreed, saying past pain didn't give Jung Myung the right to murder people at the apartment building. To calm Cha down, Jung Myung promised to stop killing people for no reason. Then, he shared his big plan, bringing all the new humans together to build a perfect, safe home just for them. While they were talking, a screaming woman ran toward them. She was being chased by a brightly dressed monster, probably a shopaholic before they turned. Wanting to show off to Cha, Jung Myung stepped in to save the woman without killing the monster. The monster dug itself out of a pile of clothes. It had 4 arms and 2 legs, perfect for grabbing stuff. It attacked Jung Myung, but he quickly pinned it down with his cold tentacle. Badly beaten, the 4-armed monster ran away, even grabbing a few shopping bags on its way out, which was kind of funny. They knew there weren't many special infected out there, and most were locked up at the main military base. So, Cha and Jung Myung agreed to drive straight to the base to free the others from being used as lab rats. Seo's main reason for sneaking into the base was to find her missing husband. He disappeared after a medical test, and she thought he was locked up there. By threatening a high-ranking officer, she skipped security and blended in with the soldiers. She almost got caught, but she got lucky. Cha and Jung Myung suddenly arrived outside, drawing most of the security guards away. Just as their truck got to the gates, Jung Myung's brain glitched. Wook, the guy whose body Jung Myung stole, unexpectedly took back control for a second. Wook hallucinated his dead girlfriend standing in the road. Scared he would hit her, he yanked the steering wheel, causing a massive crash that instantly killed several soldiers nearby. Wook ended up stuck under the wrecked truck with crushed legs. Because he heals super fast, Cha walked away with barely a scratch. Cha tried to help a badly hurt soldier with crushed legs, but the terrified man screamed at him, called him a freak, and told him to go away. Looking sad, Cha decided to quickly kill the soldier to end his pain. At the same time, Seo quietly sneaked into a lab and watched a creepy experiment on a mother and her daughter. The daughter had turned into a yellow-level monster. The scientists were testing if a monster at this level still loved its human family. It was a total failure. The mutated girl's hands had turned into sharp blades, and the second her mother got close, the monster chopped off 5 of her fingers. Now that they had their answer, the scientists decided they didn't need the monster anymore. The sad mother knew what was coming but couldn't stop it. A guard with a flamethrower stepped up and burned the mutated girl to ashes. Realizing Wook's body was now useless, Jung Myung tried to leave it and take over a fresh, dead soldier. But he was stuck. Cha made fun of him, saying they weren't special, just rejects. He told Jung Myung that without a human body to live in, he was just a pathetic parasite. Cha then started dragging the paralyzed Jung Myung straight toward the military base. Angry and embarrassed, Jung Myung yelled that this was a suicide mission. He warned Cha that the army was incredibly cruel. When Cha didn't listen, Jung Myung started begging for his life, knowing going back meant certain death. But Cha wouldn't change his mind. Completely defeated, Jung Myung asked why Cha was ignoring his warnings. Cha simply said he was doing this so he wouldn't forget he was human. Jung Myung thought this was total nonsense. Even though Cha wanted to hold on to his humanity, the military had other plans. Right after he spoke, soldiers showed up and started shooting at him without a word. Falling into a pool of his own blood, Cha passed out. As for what was about to happen next, Jung Myung mumbled it best from the ground. Welcome to hell. The story cuts back to Yoon-yu. She was determined to return to the destroyed apartment building to look for her brother, Lee. Lee had nosebleeds before, a sure sign he was infected, and chose to stay behind. Pointing her stolen gun, Yoon-yu took over the truck and forced the head soldier to drive back. Jisoo tried to talk sense into her, saying that even if Lee was alive, he was probably a full monster by now. But Yoon-yu wouldn't listen. After parking near the ruins, she went out alone, leaving Jisoo in the truck to keep the gun aimed at the soldier. The apartment building was totally destroyed. In the rubble, Yoon-yu saw a dirty Bible, broken glasses, a bloody handwritten note, and scattered photos. Seeing these things brought back a flood of memories about her brother. She felt a deep sadness, realizing she hadn't appreciated their good times, and now everything was broken forever. Back in the truck, the captured soldier played mind games to get control. He lied about a vaccine to turn the survivors against each other. He made up a story that there was very little vaccine left and they would only give it to people who saved soldiers from attackers. A blonde teenager fell for it right away and lunged for Jisoo's gun. When he missed, he punched her hard in the stomach. Using the distraction, a younger soldier named Park jumped out of the truck, raised his rifle, and took control of the crazy situation. The head soldier eventually found Yoon-yu and beat her up badly. He was about to kill her, but Park stopped him. Park noticed a bunch of fresh dead bodies nearby. They were all from the elite Crow platoon and were torn apart, which clearly meant a monster attacked them. Whatever could kill a whole special ops team was very dangerous. Since their truck had a flat tire and everyone was angry, the head soldier decided to leave the regular people behind. He forced them into the unsafe apartment building and told Park to tie their hands, basically leaving them for the monster. But Park whispered to Yoon-yu that he was tying the knots loosely. He told her to hide the second the soldiers left. Inside the ruined building, terrible danger waited. They heard crawling sounds from above, and a shadow walked out of the smoke. It was the sad mother from the first season who lost her baby. Because she missed her baby so much, she had turned into a giant monster egg in a bathroom. Now, she was back in a human shape, but she didn't seem to remember anything. She stared blankly and walked out completely naked without feeling shy at all. The cruel head soldier wasn't going to let her walk away. He hit the gas on his truck and smashed into her at full speed, hurting her so badly she threw up blood. He then grabbed gasoline to burn her alive. Just as he was about to light the fire, a monster with no eyes and half a head came over, drawn by the noise. It shot out a tracking tentacle that stabbed right through the head soldier's skull. Park got ready to shoot, but a little boy frantically waved at him to stay quiet. Park realized regular bullets wouldn't kill the monster. They would only make it mad enough to kill everyone. It wasn't safe there anymore. Slipping out of their loose ropes, the survivors quietly backed away toward an empty bus. The scared blonde boy ran first and scrambled onto it. Suddenly, a loud drone flew overhead, startling the blind monster. In a flash, the monster swatted the drone right out of the sky. Knowing the danger, Park had no choice but to shoot the monster, hoping to buy the others time to run. Things got worse when a second monster with giant eyes showed up. Its snake-like arms aimed right for Park and wrapped tightly around his chest. At the same time, the blind monster figured out where the people in the bus were, even without eyes. Reaching out, a hard tentacle smashed through the glass windows. With a strong pull, the monster crashed into the bus like a cannonball. The blonde teenager quickly started the engine and hit the gas. The bus jerked forward, knocking the blind monster off like a toy. Meanwhile, Yoon-yu refused to leave Park behind. Ignoring the blonde boy yelling at her, she fought him for the gear shift and forced the bus to stop. Seeing a chance, Park stabbed the many-eyed monster with his knife, but it did absolutely nothing against its thick skin. Miraculously, the blind monster accidentally saved him. Because it couldn't see, it swung its tentacle wildly, completely missed the bus, and smacked the big-eyed monster instead. This freed Park. To distract it, Park threw a rock at the blind monster's exposed brain. While it was confused, Park ran forward, dodged the swinging tentacles, and safely dived into the bus. The blind monster tried to chase them, hooking a tentacle onto the bus again. But when the bus drifted around a corner, the monster was dragged and thrown right onto the sharp spikes of a parked forklift, getting stuck. A few miles down the road, the bus suddenly stopped. Park saw a lone person walking. A nerdy guy with glasses begged the soldier to keep driving, terrified the stranger was infected. Park, however, said his job was to save survivors. Trusting his gut, he let the stranger on the bus. Amazingly, the new guy didn't seem to care about the danger at all. He immediately fell asleep and started snoring super loudly, completely shocking everyone else. The story cuts back to Cha. He had healed himself, but the military was definitely treating him like a lab rat. They stripped him naked, chained him by his neck and arms, put him in a cage, and wheeled him into a testing room. The head scientist, Dr. Lim, brought in another monster. Even though Cha didn't know what the test was for, he went along with it, hoping the pain might help bring peace. Suddenly, fresh blood rained down on Cha. The other monster, called a red type, smelled it and got very angry. The test was supposed to see how well Cha could fight, but it wasn't fair at all. Cha was knocked down with one punch. Before he could get up, the monster grabbed his neck and slammed him into the concrete wall. After beating Cha up, the monster opened its mouth to bite his neck. Right then, Cha's eyes turned totally white, and he used his special power. He looked straight into the monster's memories from before it turned. Cha learned the monster used to be a tennis player who got sick, turned, and lost his mind. Somehow, Cha helped the monster remember his human life. The monster calmed down and begged Cha, saying it didn't want to suffer anymore. Right away, Dr. Lim stopped the test. Workers in protective suits stepped in and, ignoring the monster's clear talking, burned it alive with a flamethrower. Cha cried openly. It broke his heart that a monster who got its human mind back still wasn't wasn't treated like a human. Watching safely from behind glass, Dr. Lim smiled, looking very happy. Cha's special powers made him way more valuable to study than the other monsters. Angry, Cha asked Dr. Lim why he killed the monster so cruelly. The doctor answered coldly, saying the monster was just a used-up test subject. He pointed out that the red-type monster had killed over a dozen soldiers, but magically stopped just by touching Cha. Dr. Lim had never seen a monster control itself, so he demanded to know what Cha did. But Cha had no idea. Cha only cared if his powers could help make the vaccine. Dr. Lim laughed and admitted a vaccine had already been made, but it was all gone. Cha begged him to make a new batch, promising to endure any pain needed. The doctor just told him to get some sleep, warning him things would get much harder tomorrow. Leaving the room, Dr. Lim saw a soldier having trouble swiping a keycard. He warned the soldier that one more bad swipe would set off the alarm. This soldier was actually Seo, who had just snuck in. Dr. Lim knew exactly who she was right away, but decided not to turn her in. Instead, he helped her open the door. Seo was very careful because she had never met him. Dr. Lim recognized her so fast because he was close friends with Seo's doctor fiancé. Still suspicious, Seo followed Dr. Lim deeper into the building. At the same time, Jung Myung had been put in a body bag and taken to a different lab. The scientists were confused. Usually, special infected heal from almost anything, but this body looked totally dead. The second the two scientists turned their backs, Jung Myung's fingers moved and he opened his eyes. When they looked back, the body was gone. They stepped closer, having no idea Jung Myung was holding on under the metal table. Even with broken legs, killing two unarmed doctors was easy for him. He wiped the blood off his hands, put on a stolen protective suit, and crawled out holding a small surgical knife. Hearing footsteps, he tried to leave his broken body again but was too weak. Just in time, he dragged himself into a room next to the hallway to hide. Inside, Jung Myung saw the test subject floating in a glass tank. He felt a rush of messy emotions as he stared at it, having a hard time believing someone he knew had been turned into something so sad and ruined. Dr. Lim didn't help Seo find her fiancé out of the goodness of his heart. He was creepily curious to see how the monster, who used to be Seo's lover, would act when it saw the person it loved the most. But the second Seo walked into the testing area, soldiers suddenly rushed in, shot Dr. Lim with a taser, and dragged him away. Jumping back to the night before, the survivor bus was still driving to the safe camp when they had to pull over. The little boy really needed to use the bathroom. He was too scared to go out into the dark, and the crying kid admitted to Park that he couldn't go alone. Park stepped closer to make him feel safe. Meanwhile, inside the bus, the blonde teenager was acting crazy. He was mumbling angrily about a ruined acting audition, obsessed with why he didn't get picked even though he was so good-looking. The little boy's sister was watching her brother outside, but the blonde boy's talking made her look back. When she turned around, she saw horrible white sores bursting out all over his face. The blonde boy creepily asked her if his face still looked good. Scared to death, she backed away and told him he looked really weird. Hearing that made the mutating teen snap. He lost control and violently attacked her, grabbing her by the throat, even though a single tear ran down his face showing he regretted it. Right in the nick of time, the sleeping guy woke up, grabbed his shotgun, and shot the teen in the shoulder. But the newly turned monster was tough. It stumbled backward, but then charged forward again. The stranger fired another shot, but it did even less damage. As the monster tried to bite them, crazily asking if it was handsome, Park heard the fighting and shot the blonde boy. But the monster wouldn't fall easily. With his head quickly twisting into something ugly, the monster begged Park not to ruin his handsome face. With the help of Park and the shotgun guy, everyone made it off the bus safely. Because he only cared about his looks, the mutated blonde boy crawled over to a puddle of spilled alcohol to look at his reflection. Seeing his hideous face completely broke his mind, and he screamed that the reflection wasn't him, making everyone sick to their stomachs. A second, twisted face ripped right out of the monster's stomach and let out a high-pitched scream. Jisoo quickly threw a spark onto the spilled alcohol, setting the vain monster on fire. After fighting the flames for a bit, the ugly monster finally died. At first, the group thought the young girl had just passed out from being choked, but when she wouldn't wake up, they realized she was dead. With their bus ruined, the survivors had no choice but to walk the rest of the way to the safe camp. The sudden death of his big sister completely broke the little boy's heart. He held on to her and refused to leave, forcing the stranger to pick him up and carry him away. As they walked down the dark streets, the only sound in the quiet night was the little boy crying his heart out. A while later, Wook's injuries fully healed, so he could walk again. Meanwhile, Seo found the lab. She saw the dead scientists lying in pools of blood, but no one else had noticed them yet. Going deeper, she walked right into the room where Jung Myung was hiding. There, she found something awful. Her fiancé was locked inside a glass tank. He was covered in blood and his eyes looked dead. He looked like a corpse. Jung Myung had done this to him. Seeing the man she loved so badly hurt, Seo felt incredibly sad. Suddenly, a terrible pain hit her stomach. As we know, Seo is pregnant. The shock of seeing her fiancé seemed to make the baby grow unnaturally fast, and it started kicking violently inside her. Hiding in the shadows, Jung Myung watched the whole thing happen. Back with the bus group, the survivors finally finished their hard trip and made it to the military safe zone. Park ran off right away to find his soldier squad. The stranger, who had carried the crying little boy the whole way, left the group and walked into the camp alone. Everyone arriving had to go through a security check. The stranger angrily refused to hand over his stuff, and this quickly turned into a fistfight with the guards. During the fight, he dropped his gun. Even though he fought hard, there were just too many soldiers. They pinned him down, arrested him, and dragged him away. Dr. Lim was suddenly woken up by an electric shock. He was lying on the floor of a meeting room, surrounded by the top military bosses. On the table was a safe he recognized right away. It was supposed to hold the stolen vaccine. The bosses said they had already punished the thief who stole it. Now, they wanted to use the cure on themselves. They believed keeping themselves alive was the only way to keep the camp under control. Since Dr. Lim was the only one who knew the password, they ordered him to open it. Before typing it in, the doctor asked if they really wanted to take a medicine that was still untested and dangerous. The bosses didn't care and told him to open it anyway. Everyone watched as he opened the safe, but it was completely empty. The top boss was shocked. Dr. Lim had guessed someone would try to steal the cure, so he hid the real medicine somewhere else where only he knew. The safe on the table was a fake. Realizing they had been tricked, the head boss got insanely angry. To find out if anyone was secretly infected, the guards used a cruel test. They cut the hands of the arriving survivors to see if they healed super fast, which is a clear sign of turning into a monster. If the cut healed right away, that person was grabbed and locked up. If they bled like a normal human, they got a stamp on their hand and were let in. When it was Jisoo's turn, she was acting weird because she was holding on to a painful cut on her stomach. The guard got suspicious right away and ordered her to show him the injury. Whether she was just too scared or too tired, she froze and didn't show him. Right before things got worse, an announcement played over the loudspeakers. It ordered the guards to stop all security checks immediately and let all the survivors into the camp freely. Back in the meeting room, the head boss got violent to find out where the vaccine really was. He shot a bullet right through Dr. Lim's hand. Even though it hurt terribly, the doctor didn't say a word. The boss then made a horrible threat. He said he would kill every single regular person in the camp before they had the chance to turn into monsters. Instead of giving in, Dr. Lim just started laughing like crazy because he found the boss's cruelty funny. Without waiting, the boss hit a red button on the desk. Outside, tanks rolled out and started bombing the camp and shooting into the dark sky. Everyone panicked and ran for their lives. In the rush, the little boy was knocked away from the group, crying for his dead sister. Buildings fell apart from the bombs while scared people hid in the dirt. Jisoo was the only one who stayed calm. She shook off her shock, followed the little boy's crying, and covered him with her own body to protect him. While the bombs fell outside, the cruel boss gave Dr. Lim one last chance. When the doctor still wouldn't talk, the angry boss ordered his guards to kill him right then and there. Right at that second, the captain of the Crow platoon rushed into the room with his men. Without saying a word, they started shooting and killed all the corrupt military bosses. The reason they turned against their bosses started a few hours earlier. The captain was told that the higher-ups were breaking up his special team. When he asked why, his boss gave a weak excuse, saying there were too many monsters now, so their team wasn't useful anymore. The boss wouldn't explain more. He just told the captain to grab food and weapons and leave, warning him to stay away from the civilian camp. The captain knew his boss was hiding a huge secret and demanded the truth. Sadly, instead of telling him, the boss pulled out a gun and killed himself. The captain looked through his boss's secret files and found out the terrible truth. The top bosses were planning to kill all the civilians. Determined to stop this massacre, the captain gathered his loyal men and went to the meeting room. After the shooting, something awful happened. One of the dead bosses was actually infected and suddenly started turning into a monster. The new monster tackled the captain and choked him, while gross, fleshy tentacles shot out of its mouth. The captain managed to shoot it twice right in the mouth, but the bullets did nothing. Luckily, another soldier kicked the monster hard several several times, making it let go. Then, a soldier with a flamethrower stepped up and burned the monster alive. It screamed as it burned to ashes, leaving only the bad smell of burnt meat. Now that they were safe, the captain decided they needed to run to the civilian camp. But he couldn't leave the military base standing. He set a bomb on a timer to blow up the whole place and kill all the monster test subjects locked inside. Seo, who had passed out from her terrible stomach cramps, woke up just in time because of the loud alarm sirens. She ran through the messy hallways and somehow made it out of the base right before the bombs went off. At the same time, Jung Myung was starting his own plan. Now that he had his energy back, he used his tentacles to smash open the cages and free all the locked-up monsters. Taking control of the monster army, he began taking over the whole military base. Meanwhile, Cha was still locked in his glass cage, treated like a lab rat. Suddenly, the bright flash of the bomb explosion lit up his room. Jung Myung had been watching the security cameras and easily found Cha's cell. When he got there, he started insulting Cha right away. He cruelly said he wasn't there to save him, but to leave him behind forever. Smiling an evil smile, he promised to leave Cha locked in the cage, so he would have to watch all humans get wiped out. This made Cha so mad that he broke the thick glass of his cage and attacked Jung Myung wildly. But just being angry wasn't enough. Jung Myung easily blocked Cha's punches, grabbed his arm, and snapped it. Then he stabbed a sharp tentacle deep into Cha's stomach. Pushed right to the edge of death, the monster inside Cha finally came out. His eyes turned totally black as his broken arm healed itself and changed shape. Huge, misty wings burst out of his back, making him incredibly strong and letting him smack Jung Myung away with massive force. Lying on the floor, Jung Myung actually laughed and pounded the ground happily. He thought Cha was finally reaching his true power by turning into a monster. Cha slammed Jung Myung into a wall, but Cha was still trying to think like a human, and his new, deadly wings terrified him. Holding them back with his good arm, he screamed at Jung Myung to run away before he lost control completely. Jung Myung just laughed, making fun of Cha for not accepting that he was a monster. They crashed into each other again. Jung Myung changed how he fought. Instead of fighting face to face, he used his tentacles like whips to hit Cha's legs. Cha's misty wings couldn't be hurt, but they were so big and heavy that they messed up his balance. It only took a few hits for Jung Myung to wrap his tentacles around Cha's ankles and pull him down. Winning the fight, Jung Myung told Cha he lost his chance to be part of the new human race. Furious, Cha got up and stabbed Jung Myung right through the heart with one of his hard wings. But Jung Myung expected this. He quickly stabbed his tentacles into Cha's wing and injected a strong poison. Cha's body started turning to stone, starting from the wings and moving inward until he was totally frozen like a statue. Standing over the stone Cha, Jung Myung insulted him one last time. He said no humans would ever come save him, and that Cha hadn't saved anyone either. His punishment was to be stuck as a statue forever, unable to even die. Miles away, Seo was struggling to walk across a frozen wasteland while the military base burned in the distance. Suddenly, a terrible cramp hit her stomach, and she saw the shape of a tiny hand pushing against her skin from the inside. The baby was coming right now. She fell onto the freezing ice, knowing it was time. She quickly tore her pants open just as her water broke. Biting down on a piece of cloth to hide her screams, she pushed as hard as she could. Right in the middle of this painful birth, the ice under her broke, and she fell straight into the freezing water. While sinking underwater, the baby was finally born. Later on, Seo woke up back on top of the solid ice. She heard a creepy chewing noise nearby. When she turned her head, she saw a small, ugly creature eating its own umbilical cord. Terrified her and broke her heart. Even though Seo was still completely human, her baby was born a monster. This happened because her fiancé had the monster virus when she got pregnant. Back at the bomb-safe camp, the dizzy survivors started waking up. Jisoo and the little boy had somehow survived the first explosion together, but the ruined building above them was making loud noises, about to totally collapse. Sadly, Jisoo was pinned under the broken concrete with a thick metal pole stabbed right through her stomach. She couldn't pull herself out, so she yelled at the crying boy to run away. Crying hard, the boy listened to her harsh but caring orders and ran. Yunyu heard the noise and ran over to the wreckage, but she realized there was no way to save Jisoo. Even though Jisoo fought hard to break free and didn't give up, she was crushed and killed instantly when the concrete ceiling finally fell. Since the camp was totally destroyed, the captain moved the 400 survivors who were left to an empty, underground subway station. But moving underground caused a big new problem. They barely had any clean water or food. After setting up a basic camp, the leaders knew they had to send people out to search for supplies quickly so everyone wouldn't starve. Suddenly, Suddenly, a bright flashlight shone through the dark subway tracks, and a young woman stepped out. It was Chief G, the captain's very smart right-hand helper. 300 days later, the story jumps forward in time, showing Yu walking alone through the dark tunnels with a flashlight after waking up. It had been over 300 hard days since the monster outbreak started. The regular people had sadly gotten used to living underground. The Crow platoon soldiers were completely in charge. Only the soldiers were allowed to go outside to look for food, while regular people had to stay locked inside. Every day, they counted everyone and checked any open cuts to find people who might be turning into monsters. During one check, a guard grabbed the little boy and got ready to cut him to see if he healed fast. Before he could cut him, Yu stepped in, grabbed the knife, and offered herself instead. She showed her own bloody, unhealed cut to prove she was 100% human. The little boy then bravely showed his own normal cut too. This calmed the guard down, and the health checks continued peacefully. Nearby, the old woman was coughing really badly, making Park run to find medicine for her. She was super worried about her son, June, who had a mental disability. She didn't know where he was and was scared he might accidentally make the guards angry. Park told his bosses about this right away. By checking the security cameras, the captain found June. June had wandered into the soldiers' room and politely asked to join the team going outside to look for supplies. The tough soldiers just made fun of him, saying he didn't know how to fight and didn't have a gun. Not giving up, June held a broom like a gun, but a soldier easily shoved him to the dirt. A sergeant quickly stopped the bullying and yelled at the men to get ready to leave in 5 minutes. In another corner, two angry guys were arguing with the soldiers. They said the military was lying, that the outside world wasn't really that dangerous, and that the soldiers were just keeping all the good food for themselves. They demanded to go outside too. Annoyed, the sergeant threw a gun at their feet and dared them to go out and prove it. Realizing they wouldn't have any soldiers to protect them outside, the two cowards got scared instantly. They backed down and walked away, grumbling to themselves. Down the hall, a soldier named Choi was hanging out quietly with his girlfriend. He heard the two angry guys talking trash and wanted to go shut them up. His girlfriend stopped him, saying fighting with ungrateful idiots was a waste of time, and that most people in the camp were really thankful for the soldiers. But Choi was very worried about a bad, infected cut on his girlfriend's hand. As he got ready to go outside, he promised he would find real medicine for her. Meanwhile, the panicked old mother finally found June. Crying, she scolded him for trying to leave the underground camp. The sad truth was she had cancer before the monsters appeared, and her stomach pains were getting worse every day. Seeing his mother in so much pain was the reason June wanted to go outside to find painkillers. At the same time, the two angry guys cornered Chief G, begging her for a way to sneak out. Since G knew all the subway maps, she knew about a secret tunnel that went around the main gates. She agreed to let them use it, but she gave them a creepy deal. They had to follow Yunyu everywhere she went. Elsewhere, Yunyu walked into the room of Chief G's spoiled daughter and handed her some lipstick she found outside. The spoiled girl hated the color and rudely ordered Yunyu to go back outside and find a better one. Fed up, Yunyu shoved the girl's face into a sink full of water and calmly walked out. Getting ready to go outside alone, Yunyu snuck into the secret tunnel. She had no idea the two guys were spying on her. The dark tunnel was spooky, and the two cowards stopped, too scared of monsters to keep going. Just by luck, June bumped into them. One of the guys came up with a mean plan and tricked June into walking in front of them. Their nasty idea was that if a monster attacked, it would eat June first. Also, if the soldiers caught them, they could blame it all on June. Moving quietly, the three of them started following Yunyu. The reason Chief G wanted them to follow Yunyu was because of a secret from the past. A while ago, Yunyu was attacked in these same tunnels by a monster. That monster used to be Chief G's husband. Yunyu was losing the fight until a mysterious person with huge black wings showed up and killed the monster in a flash. Before Yunyu passed out, the person with the wings tied a red piece of cloth around her arm, but left before she could see their face. When they got outside, the two guys found a grocery store that still had some food. The skinny guy wanted to stop following Yunyu, saying they should just take the free food and sneak back, but his angry friend said no. He believed Chief G actually wanted them to kill Yunyu as payback, thinking Yunyu was the one who killed G's husband. When they walked out of the store, someone suddenly shoved a gun in their faces. Surprisingly, it was June holding the gun. The tough guy easily grabbed the gun away from June. Hearing a noise, June wandered off into the ruined city all by himself. The skinny guy felt a little bad about leaving June alone, but his angry partner didn't care if June died. He only cared about hunting down Yunyu. Further down the road, Yunyu saw their reflection in a broken car mirror and started running. The guy with the gun started shooting wildly, but he had terrible aim, so she easily hid among the broken cars. She ducked inside an old car. When the guy with the gun got close, Yunyu jumped out, kicked him hard to the ground, and ran away. Starting to panic, the skinny guy begged to go back, but his angry friend just yelled at him and called him a coward. While wandering around, June found an old greenhouse covered in plants. Hidden inside was a strange young girl. Worried, he told her it wasn't safe to sleep out in the open. When she didn't answer, he gently touched her hand. The second they touched, the girl's eyes turned totally white, and she aggressively dug into June's mind. She shoved him backward hard, then snapped out of it. As June sat there confused, the girl coldly told him that whatever happened to him next was his own fault for touching her. After she disappeared, a weird, nasty mark appeared on June's arm from where she touched him. At the same time, Yunyu hid inside an abandoned factory, but the guy with the gun was right behind her. Neither of them knew a monster was hiding quietly above them. While walking on a rusty metal bridge, Yunyu slipped, fell, and knocked herself out. Hearing a noise, the guy with the gun fired blindly, but he didn't hit Yunyu. He found the strange girl from the greenhouse instead. When the skinny guy stepped closer to look at her, she just touched his arm and instantly took over his brain. Spinning around, the possessed skinny guy repeated the exact same insults his friend had yelled at him earlier, telling him to get lost and calling him useless. Furious at being disrespected, the angry guy put his gun to his skinny friend's head and shot him. To his total horror, the skinny guy came right back to life. Crying about wanting to go home, his body started turning into a monster, and he violently attacked his friend. The strange girl had the terrifying power to instantly turn humans into monsters just by touching them. Miles away, a squad of soldiers was searching a messy neighborhood, trying to steal gas from old cars. Hearing a noise in the bushes, they got their guns ready. Stepping out was the sad widow whose sick husband got shot by a soldier back at the first camp. She was currently stuck in the painful middle of turning into a monster. Her fingers had grown into long, sharp claws, but her mind was still focused on her human sadness. She was crying and digging wildly in the dirt, looking for her lost wedding ring. The soldiers had rules for checking how dangerous monsters were. Seeing she wasn't trying to attack anyone, they decided she was a harmless, green-level monster. They spray-painted a green mark on her torn dress and got ready to leave. Suddenly, the turning woman stared at a soldier with a shaved head and ran straight toward him. While the rest of the soldiers moved on to the next building, the bald soldier stayed back and gently led the confused woman toward an old theme park. She was obsessed with him because her dead husband had lost his hair from cancer treatments. Her broken brain actually thought this soldier was her dead husband come back to life. While searching, Private Choi found a city map that showed where the local doctor's clinic was. Desperate to find medicine for his girlfriend's bad hand, he sneaked away from his squad without saying a word. Back underground, Chief G put together a team to fix a weak spot called the East Wall. Lots of people wanted to go because they hoped to steal supplies from outside, but there were only a few spots. The nerdy guy who escaped the first apartments with Yunyu tried to kiss up to Chief G's daughter to get picked, but he just embarrassed himself. The spoiled girl hated Yunyu and treated anyone who knew her like trash. Thinking he had no chance, the nerd was totally surprised when Chief G actually picked him for the job. Just as the gates were opening, the old woman with cancer stopped G and begged to go outside with them. Tired of her begging, G finally said yes. When they got to the broken wall, everyone started working hard, except for Chief G's spoiled daughter. She just sat nearby, drying her hair and flirting with Park. While carrying heavy stuff, the nerd saw the old woman trying to sneak off into the wasteland. She was running surprisingly fast for a sick person. Park and G chased after her right away, accidentally following her into a minefield. After a few steps, a scary click sound came from under the old woman's foot. She had stepped on a landmine. Park and G yelled at her to freeze, stopping her from lifting her foot and setting off the bomb. Crying, the old woman admitted why she really came outside. She wanted to wander off and die so she wouldn't be a burden to the camp anymore. She begged them to leave her, but Park ran over and grabbed her leg to hold it still. Since he didn't know how to disarm bombs, he quickly called on the radio for an expert. Then, something terrible happened. Thick drops of blood started splashing onto Park's hands. Looking up, he saw the old woman's nose was bleeding heavily, the clear first sign she was turning into a monster. The captain rushed over but didn't know what to do. As it got dark and started raining hard, he still refused to leave the mutating woman behind. Finally, they came up with a crazy, dangerous plan. He told Park to slowly drive a heavy truck right over the landmine, planning to pull the woman away the exact second the tire rolled onto it. Amazingly, it seemed to work. The heavy tire held the bomb down, letting the captain pull her to safety. But their relief didn't last long. The weight shifted, and the bomb blew up in a massive fireball. Miles away, the supply squad felt the ground shake. Thinking the camp was under attack, they canceled their mission. While rushing back, they finally realized Choi was completely missing. Knowing their camp was in danger, they couldn't waste time looking for him and ran home. Back at the old factory, Yunyu finally woke up to a nightmare. The room was filled with angry monsters. As they surrounded her, she pulled out out her knife and sliced open a bag of cement powder, kicking up a huge cloud of dust to blind them. Moving super fast, she dodged their claws and ran up the stairs, but there were just too many of them. She tripped slightly at the top, and the monsters tackled her to the floor. Just as they were about to tear her apart, the mysterious person with the dark wings appeared out of nowhere. With one massive swing of their wings, they wiped out all the monsters instantly, saving her life once again. Yunyu was sure this guardian angel was actually her brother who had turned into a monster, looking out for her. She ran out into the heavy rain, screaming his name into the dark. But it wasn't her brother who walked out. Instead, the creepy young girl stepped forward, wearing a familiar red ribbon tied around her wrist. Out of nowhere, the newly turned skinny monster jumped from the shadows and attacked the child. Yunyu raised her knife to protect the little girl, but the girl just held up her hand. Without even trying, she stopped the charging monster in its tracks. With just a look, she turned the crazy beast into an obedient pet. It was obvious now. This little girl could not only turn people into monsters, but she could also control their minds completely. When Yunyu tried to go talk to the girl, she was violently knocked down by a small, super-fast monster. It was the baby lizard monster that the captain had let live days ago. The girl signaled the baby monster to back off and leave Yunyu alone. Then, she told her new skinny monster bodyguard to pick up the dead body of his friend and carry it away. A little later, Yunyu found the dead body of the guy with the gun under a bridge. After she walked away, two people in hoods stepped out of the bushes. This showed that some people chose to survive in the ruined city instead of following the military's strict rules underground. The two scavengers got lucky and stole the dead guy's backpack full of good supermarket food. Back outside the bunker, it was a miracle. Both the captain and the old woman had survived the bomb blast mostly unhurt, but since her nose was still bleeding, the rules said Park had to take her straight to the isolation rooms. However, the real danger was just starting. The huge noise from the bomb acted like a dinner bell for the monsters in the wasteland. Looking through his binoculars, the captain saw a massive wave of monsters gathering near the river, walking straight toward their underground home. The soldiers turned on the warning sirens and grabbed their guns, getting ready for a huge battle. The soldiers running back to base knew the bomb noise would cause trouble, too. While sprinting, they ran past a really weird monster that looked exactly like a street crosswalk. The soldiers had no idea what human obsession could have created something so weird. Terrified that the monster army would destroy their camp, the soldiers quickly set up a distraction. They ran to an old gas station and blew it up to get the monster's attention. They set up more bombs on a timer before driving away. The trick worked perfectly, letting the soldiers sneak past the distracted monsters. The bad news, though, was that they wasted a lot of the bombs they desperately needed. The soldiers reached the camp gates at the exact same time June stumbled back. He had been acting really strange since he met the girl in the greenhouse, and he passed out right at the door. When he wouldn't wake up for hours, a worried Park rushed him to the doctor. Dr. Lim looked closely at the weird mark on June's arm. He noticed it didn't look like a burn or a bruise. The doctor knew it was actually a monster infection, but he lied to Park, saying it was just a minor sickness that needed rest. The second Park left the room, Dr. Lim eagerly took several tubes of June's blood. The tests proved it. June was turning into a monster, but his cells were changing in a completely new way no one had seen before. While Dr. Lim was distracted by his exciting new discovery, he turned around and saw the bed was empty. Even though he had been knocked out cold, June had magically disappeared. Chief G went to the captain and demanded he kick the infected old woman out immediately. Even though the monster virus isn't caught like a cold, she believed that just the fear of living next to a monster would make people go crazy and cause more people to turn. The captain flat out said no. He wasn't keeping the woman just to be nice. He did it because the camp was losing hope and he needed to prove that life wasn't completely useless. He also reminded G that they already knew not all monsters were violent killers. Annoyed, G walked away, coldly telling him that if people died because of this, it would be all his fault. Once she closed the door, the captain finally let himself show how much pain he was in. He actually hadn't escaped the bomb blast completely safe. Acting super tough, he quietly used tools to dig sharp pieces of metal out of his own skin. Just as he wrapped up his wounds, a sergeant barged in, demanding permission to go out at sunrise to look for Private Choi, who ran away. The captain said no right away. He argued that risking a whole squad to save a guy who abandoned them was a stupid mistake. The sergeant got angry, calling the captain a hypocrite. He yelled that it wasn't fair for the captain to risk his life for an infected regular person, but turn his back on a fellow soldier. They got into a loud screaming match, but the captain wouldn't change his mind and shut the sergeant down. In the soldiers' room, the team kept trying to call Choi on the radio, but he hadn't answered since he disappeared. Because he wasn't answering, the soldiers started arguing angrily about sneaking out to save him. The negative guys on the team said that if he wasn't answering, he was definitely already dead or turned into a monster. Everyone got so mad that two soldiers actually got into a bad fistfight about it. Watching his own men fight each other just made the sergeant even more furious with the captain. Standing near the door, Choi's girlfriend sadly heard the soldiers saying her boyfriend was probably dead. Deep in the civilian area, the little boy was being pushed around and bullied by two older kids over a silly fight about a bowling ball. Changed by all the terrible things he had seen, the little boy refused to back down. He grabbed a heavy rock and got ready to smash it into the bullies. Yunyu, who had come back with nothing from her own search for her brother, caught his arm and took the rock away. So angry and sad, the crying boy yelled that his dad always told him to be kind, but every kind person he loved ended up dead. He promised that if suffering was the only reward for being good, he would never be a good person again. After sneaking out of the doctor's room, June ran back to his bed. He panicked when he saw his mother wasn't there. Seeing the angry little boy walking past, June begged him to tell him where his old mother was. Being harsh and honest, the kid flat out told him she was turning into a monster. Surprisingly, this bad news actually made June feel a little bit better. He thought that if she traded her sick human body for a monster body, her cancer couldn't kill her anymore. But the little boy quickly crushed that hope. He coldly reminded June that the soldiers kill all monsters, so she was definitely going to die. Panicking, June ran straight for the lockdown area, but was tackled by armed guards. Right before they could beat him up, Dr. Lim stepped in and ordered them to let his patient go. Back in the lab, the doctor kept asking June questions about what happened outside, trying to find out if he got bitten or touched by anything weird. June refused to answer and demanded to see his mother. Trying a new trick, Dr. Lim offered a deal. Tell him how he got the mark on his arm and he could see his mom. June told him everything, explaining how he met the strange girl in the flowers and how her push left the mark. Wanting to know more, the doctor kept asking questions, but June didn't remember anything else. Even though June had monster blood, he wasn't showing any signs of turning and didn't heal fast like normal monsters. The doctor figured he needed to cause June severe mental pain to wake up the monster virus inside him. Smiling an evil smile, Dr. Lim told June it was finally time to go see his mother. The old lady was happy to see Chief G. She said turning into a monster made her cancer pain go away and even grew her missing teeth back. After they talked, she decided to leave the camp the next day. G promised to help but told her to go see her son first. On the wall, a board tracked the numbers. Over 400 regular people were left, but the Crow platoon soldiers had dropped from 60 down to 28. If the missing soldier, Choi, was dead, they were down to 27. Because they had so few soldiers left, it made sense that the captain said no to a rescue mission. While the sergeant thought about crossing Choi's name off the list, another soldier told him Choi's girlfriend was sick. He guessed Choi probably went to find a pharmacy or hospital. Meanwhile, the girlfriend thought Choi was dead and gave up on living. She tried to hang herself, but Yunyu walked by and cut the rope. Even though Yunyu saved her, she acted mean. She told the woman to go die somewhere else and threw her a can of food to eat first. Later, Chief G talked to Yunyu in a mean way. Yunyu already knew Chief G sent those two guys to follow her. Yunyu kept saying she didn't kill G's husband, but G didn't believe her. At first, G wanted to murder Yunyu, but she changed her mind. Now, she planned to wait until Yunyu turned into a monster so she could kill her then. Elsewhere, the priest asked Park about June. The priest had seen June and the two bad guys following Yunyu earlier. He wondered why only June came back. Park thought it was weird, too. Later, Park saw Yunyu feeding a stray cat and wished she would stop doing things on her own. Yunyu just ignored him. Park then looked at the red ribbon on her wrist. He knew a monster had attacked Chief G's husband, but left Yunyu alone. Park guessed the monster actually protected her and left the ribbon as a sign, which was why she kept sneaking out to find it. Suddenly, the cat got scared and ran away. They looked up and saw the creepy little girl standing there. Yunyu asked who she was, and the girl just held out her hand for Yunyu to follow. Yunyu almost went, but Park grabbed her. The little girl wasn't alone. A woman with a gun stepped out, also wearing a red ribbon. Yunyu realized it was Seo. Seeing Park's gun, Seo told him not to do anything stupid. She said she only came to get the kid. When Yunyu tried to get closer, Seo yelled at her to stay away from the girl. Seo called the girl over, put on gloves, and tied the kid's hands with a rope. After they left, Yunyu ignored Park and followed them to look for her brother. Park followed Yunyu. Realizing she wouldn't listen, Park tried to pick her up and carry her back to camp, but she was too heavy. While they were struggling, Yunyu tripped backward into a deep trap. Park grabbed her hand just in time. Out of nowhere, a man in a grass suit showed up and kicked Park down the hole. Luckily, Park grabbed a metal pipe so they didn't fall to their deaths. The bottom of the pit was covered in sharp wooden spikes meant to catch monsters. They carefully climbed down to the floor safely. Meanwhile, June finally got to see his sick mother, thanks to Dr. Lim. But this was actually a trick. Dr. Lim wanted to see if bad stress would make June turn into a monster. June thought he was giving his mom cancer medicine, but the doctor actually gave him paranoid killer. The old lady said she felt fine now, but June didn't listen and forced her to drink the poison. He thought killing her would stop her pain and make sure the cancer didn't come back. But since his mom had already turned into a monster, she didn't die easily. Seeing his mom survive the poison, June got really angry. He yelled at her to just die, then broke a door and stabbed her over and over. But June didn't turn into a monster like Dr. Lim expected. Instead, June got so angry that his body just exploded. Dr. Lim, covered in blood, stood there shocked before running away embarrassed. The doctor found the captain and tried to explain. He said he just wanted to watch June turn into a monster and had no idea he would blow up. Dr. Lim realized June had turned into a new type of monster that didn't show any normal signs first. The captain didn't want anyone in the camp to panic, so he ordered the doctor to keep it a secret. He told Dr. Lim to lie and say the mother turned into a monster and killed June. The doctor didn't like it, but he had to agree. Finally, the captain burned down the sick room to get rid of the infected old lady, just like Chief G wanted. The next morning, the camp speakers announced they weren't kicking the old lady out anymore. She had fully turned into a monster overnight, and the soldiers killed her. During the morning head count, they noticed 4 people were missing: Park, Yoon-yu, and the 2 bad guys. Since guards were always at the front door, the soldiers realized there had to be secret exits. The sergeant ordered everyone to search the camp and weld shut any hidden tunnels they found. The captain knew Chief G knew the bunker better than anyone, so he asked her about it. But Chief G pretended she didn't know anything. Back in the hole, Park and Yoon-yu were still stuck. Monsters walked by above them, but luckily none fell in. Finally, someone threw a rope down. Yoon-yu climbed up easily, but Park's ankle was hurt, so he needed help. She told him she would only pull him up if he stopped following her. Park said no, arguing that her sneaking around put the whole camp in danger. Yoon-yu didn't want to help at first, but finally gave in. Just as she was pulling him up, a monster roared nearby. Then, a gunshot went off and splashed gasoline everywhere. Someone was shooting at a monster hiding in the trees. The monster caught on fire and ran into a pond to put it out. After that, 2 people in grass suits walked up. Park recognized the older man. It was the stranger from the bus who chose to live outside. The girl with him was his daughter, Hani. Hani liked how strong and handsome Park looked, so she asked her dad if they could leave Yoon-yu behind and take Park. Her dad didn't want to fight, but he gave in to his daughter. Worried Yoon-yu would tell the soldiers about them, they tied up both Park and Yoon-yu and locked them in a warehouse for the night. Before leaving, Hani stole Yoon-yu's hidden knife. Yoon-yu felt hopeless as the heavy door locked. Meanwhile, Seo took the little girl to the river. It turned out the little girl was actually Seo's daughter, the baby born on the ice. While Seo had her eyes closed, the girl ripped the bandage off her mother's bad eye. This gave Seo a bad flashback, and she kicked the kid away by accident. Seo quickly checked if her daughter was okay, but made sure not to touch her. The little girl asked if her mom was still scared of her because of her eye. Seo ignored the question and told her to go inside the room. The daughter argued, asking why she was being locked up when she didn't do anything wrong. Seo figured it out and asked if she had been secretly touching humans again and turning them into monsters. The little girl stayed quiet, which meant yes. This made Seo furious. Ignoring the crying child, Seo shoved her into the room and locked the door. A flashback showed what happened a year ago. After the baby was born, Seo and her daughter lived on an old boat. Other survivors noticed the baby was a monster and kept trying to kill it. Seo fought hard to protect her, but there were always too many attackers. During one fight, the baby ran away, got shot with arrows, and was finally hit by a bullet. Thinking the baby was dead, the attackers walked over. But the baby was still breathing and suddenly grew into a little girl right in front of them. The girl touched one of the men, instantly turning him into a monster. Following the girl's orders, the new monster killed all the attackers. Seo saw the whole thing. From that day on, she made a strict rule. Her daughter was never allowed to touch another human. Back in the present, a weird smell filled the boat. A fire had started. Seo quickly grabbed her daughter and dragged her outside. Down in the water, the baby lizard monster swam toward the burning boat, trying to save them. Without a word, Seo shot her gun at the water to scare the baby monster away. This made her daughter really sad and angry. She pointed out that she was a monster too, and dared her mom to shoot her next time. Seo said she didn't see her as a monster, but the girl knew she was lying. She brought up the day she was born, remembering that Seo actually thought about killing her but was too scared to do it. The little girl said she wished she could just disappear. Hearing this painful truth, Seo didn't know what to say. The little girl then jumped off the burning boat into the water. Seo jumped in right after her, but the child was completely gone. Late that night, Park was fast asleep while Yoon-yu kept kicking the locked door. Suddenly, Hani opened it. She asked if Yoon-yu was still looking for her brother. Because she wanted to keep Park all to herself. Hani waited until her dad was gone and secretly let Yoon-yu escape. The next morning, Park woke up shocked to see Hani sleeping next to him. Seeing Yoon-yu was gone, he demanded his gun back and said he was going back to the camp. Hani got upset, but Park wouldn't change his mind. Not giving up, Hani begged him to eat one last meal with her. She gave him a bowl of weird green mush. Park was suspicious, but Hani took a big bite first to prove it wasn't poison, so Park started eating. But after just one bite, Park got super dizzy and passed out. Back at the camp, the captain's bad injuries were healing way too fast. He had caught the monster virus, too. Looking in a mirror, he saw an evil version of himself. The reflection made fun of him, saying he was a fake and that he actually loved killing people. The evil reflection told the captain to shoot himself in the head for fun. Fighting to stay sane, the captain got so mad at the mirror that he tried to choke his reflection. But in real life, he was actually choking Dr. Lim. The captain snapped out of it just in time. The doctor knew the captain was turning into a monster, but to be safe, he lied and said it was just stress from the war. Dr. Lim promised to help him, but said he needed to find the special monster, June, to do it. The doctor knew he couldn't cure the virus, but he thought he could slow it down so the captain wouldn't fully change. Meanwhile, Yoon-yu was walking through the dark wasteland alone. A monster stepped out and she grabbed a stick to fight. Right then, Seo's young daughter showed up and told the monster to stop. Yoon-yu asked the girl to take her to Seo, but the child coldly said her mother and all humans were evil. Yoon-yu finally realized the scary kid was Seo's daughter. While Yoon-yu was stunned, the girl pushed her backward into another huge hole. As she fell into the dark, the person with the big black wings showed up again to save her. This time, she finally saw his face. It wasn't her brother, it was Cha. Cha had somehow escaped being turned to stone by Jung Myong. He clearly knew the little girl. Back when Seo had the baby on the ice, Cha had stopped Seo from killing it. Cha took the baby and raised her himself. Since the girl grew up so fast, she eventually went back to live with Seo. They lived happily until the bad guys attacked their boat. That fight proved the girl was dangerous. Terrified of losing her fast-growing daughter, Seo tried to cut a scar into the girl's arm so she could always recognize her. While they fought over the knife, the child accidentally hit Seo in the face, making her blind in one eye forever. Back in the present, after Cha pulled Yoon-yu out of the hole, he tried to walk away. But Yoon-yu wouldn't give up and kept following him. Cha used his super speed to block her, but she kept going until the strange man in the grass suit stepped out and physically stopped her. Once Yoon-yu backed off, Cha asked the little girl why she was being so mean to her mom. The kid said that because her mom was human, she tried to understand humans. But humans just hurt her and killed all her monster friends. She completely hated all humans now. Cha told her to go back to the boat, but the girl said she didn't have a home anymore. She admitted she was the one who started the fire. She wanted to cut all ties with Cha and her mother forever. Panicking, Cha ran toward the burning boat. At the same time, Seo had given up looking for her daughter in the water. She climbed back onto the burning boat and just sat there, waiting to die. Soon, the smoke made her pass out. Just in time, the baby lizard monster climbed onto the boat. The fire probably reminded it of its own mother burning to death. The tiny monster tried hard to drag Seo to safety, but it was too small and almost got crushed by falling wood. When Cha finally got there, the baby monster was totally exhausted. Using his super strength, Cha grabbed Seo with one arm and the baby monster with the other, jumping away from the fire to safety. When Seo woke up, she felt incredibly guilty. She thought her desire to have a family was what made her baby turn into a monster. She still didn't know her fiancé caught the virus in the lab before she got pregnant. As they talked, the tiny lizard monster woke up too. Cha asked Seo if she really believed all monsters were evil, pointing out that this tiny creature risked its life in the fire because it saw her as family. He reminded her that all monsters used to be human, and some still cared about people. Later, the stranger in the grass suit and Seo got back to their hidden RV. They found Hani panicking. Park was shaking and foaming at the mouth because he was badly poisoned. Seo smelled the leftover food and figured it out. Hani had cooked toxic mushrooms. Hani didn't get sick because her body was immune to them, but Park was dying. Needing a cure fast, the strangers searched the woods all night, found the right medicine plants, and saved Park's life. While eating, Yoon-yu started asking the stranger personal questions about him and Hani. The man got angry and told everyone to pack up and leave as soon as they finished their food. Park tried to convince the man to come live in the underground military camp, saying it was too dangerous outside. But the stranger didn't trust humans at all and said no. Just then, Cha walked up carrying Seo. Seeing a monster, the stranger quickly pointed his gun and fired a warning shot. Yoon-yu jumped in front to stop him. Cha calmly explained that their boat burned down and they just needed a place to stay. Ignoring the stranger's yelling, Park walked over to help carry Seo into the RV. Without thinking, the stranger pointed his gun and shot right at Cha. Park and Yoon-yu begged him to stop, but the man hated monsters too much to listen. Running out of ideas, Yoon-yu pulled her knife and grabbed Hani as a hostage, hoping it would make the man drop his gun. But she underestimated Hani. The girl easily grabbed the knife out of Yoon-yu's hand. Surprisingly, Hani didn't attack. She just used the distraction to grab her dad and drive away in the RV. Knowing the loud gunshots would bring monsters, Park quickly hid everyone inside an empty house. Back at the military camp, the angry sergeant was packing his bags to sneak out and save the missing soldier, Choi, but the captain caught him at the gate with a team of soldiers. Surprisingly, the captain didn't stop him. Instead, he told the sergeant that Choi's radio signal was coming from Chestnut Island, an old, ruined military base. To make sure the sergeant didn't die going alone, the captain sent a team of top soldiers with him. The captain wasn't doing this to be nice. He needed the soldiers alive to help Dr. Lim find a cure for his own monster virus. Dr. Lim went with them, dragging a huge, heavy suitcase. When asked what was inside, he just smiled and said it was a secret. During the drive, they had to stop so the doctor could use the bathroom, and he weirdly dragged the heavy suitcase into the bushes with him. Thinking the crazy doctor was up to something, the sergeant told a soldier to follow him. Deep in the woods, they heard scary noises, and the doctor's suitcase suddenly started shaking. The scared soldier begged him to drop it, but the doctor ignored him. The scary noises were real. Giant monsters made of stone that looked like transformers crashed through the trees. The doctor just walked away calmly while the terrified soldier shot at them. The rest of the team ran over and started shooting, too. The stone monsters were incredibly strong and easily flipped the truck over with one hit. By some miracle, the whole team managed to cram into the last truck and speed away while shooting out the back. Once they were safe, the angry soldier demanded to know what was in the suitcase. Everyone was shocked when he opened it to show a dead monster. The soldiers laughed at the doctor, asking if he was trying to start a monster museum. Not caring, Dr. Lim shared a scary thought. The stone monsters weren't just dumb animals. They were smart and worked together like an army. He then explained that he pulled the dead monster out of a giant hive hanging in the trees while he was supposedly using the bathroom. The suitcase had been completely empty when they left the camp. When they finally got to Chestnut Island, the team split up. The ruined base smelled terrible and was covered in dead bodies. Even worse, something they couldn't see was hunting them in the dark. Suddenly, a soldier was violently yanked into the shadows by a monster. His friends tried to pull him back, but they only managed to grab his ripped-off arm. The soldiers had no idea, but the bloody mess meant Jung Myong was hiding in the exact same building. Deep inside the base, Dr. Lim found a giant, beating pile of flesh that looked like a huge heart. He was totally amazed by it. Wanting to study it, he reached out to touch it, but the sergeant pulled him back hard. The sergeant yelled at him, saying his crazy ideas were going to get everyone killed. The doctor didn't care. He ordered the sergeant to take the men and check the next room, demanding to be left alone with the giant heart. Even though it was a bad idea to split up, the sergeant wanted to find his missing soldier, so he agreed. He handed the doctor a walkie-talkie and led his men away. Back at the underground camp, the captain was watching the tracking signals of the sergeant's team when the screens suddenly scrambled. At the same time, the camp's monster alarms started going off. Down where the regular people live, a few survivors heard creepy scratching sounds coming from inside the concrete walls. Chief G heard the scary sounds too, but her face showed she was hiding a dark secret she couldn't talk about. Panicking, she quickly looked for her daughter, asking for her help and saying the girl was the only person she could trust. Following the monster alarm, a group of soldiers went straight to Chief G's private office. Without saying a word, they glared at her and ordered everyone to gather in the middle of the camp right away. Once everyone was there, Chief G secretly gave her daughter a signal, telling her to sneak away from the crowd. The Tough Crow platoon soldiers then did something brutal. They purposely cut their own skin to show they didn't heal fast, proving they weren't monsters. The captain then gave the scared crowd a warning. He said the monster virus had changed, meaning anyone showing even small signs of turning would be killed immediately. He told them that to survive now, they couldn't trust anyone. To make things scarier, he said anyone caught hiding their own symptoms or protecting someone who was sick would be killed on the spot. This harsh speech left everyone shaking, but Chief G was the only one who actually clapped. She then dared the captain to take the test and prove he was human, too. She figured that if he refused to cut himself, everyone would know he was hiding something. Trapped, the captain dragged a knife across his arm, while hundreds of people watched the fresh cut. He tried to act calm, but just as his super-fast healing was about to give him away, the lights went completely out. Hidden in the dark, his cut healed itself instantly. Using the blackout as cover, Chief G sneaked away from the crowd and went back to her office. There, she unlocked a heavy metal vault door, showing that she was hiding something truly terrible inside. Even though the captain didn't get caught, his mind started playing tricks on him. His evil second personality teased him from the shadows. He imagined a scary scene where the camp survivors were were running for their lives, and he was the monster hunting them. In this nightmare, he was covered in the blood of the people he killed. Staring at the imaginary dead bodies in the hallway, an evil voice whispered in his ear, telling him that he was the real monster hiding in the base. While the captain was stuck in his nightmare, a soldier knocked and walked into the room. The captain ignored the soldier calling his name and just kept staring weirdly at his reflection in the mirror. Finally, he fought off his dark thoughts and snapped back to reality. The two men went down to the basement to check the power box, and quickly saw that the electrical wires had been cut on purpose. During the blackout, the basement door had also been locked from the inside. The problem was that only Chief G and one sergeant had the keys to that door, but both of them were supposedly in the crowd when the lights went out. The captain knew right away that someone planned the blackout to cover up a secret mission. Soon after, they found a big clue on the floor, a ring that belonged to Chief G's teenage daughter. The soldiers dragged the girl right to her mother. When the captain asked G about her daughter cutting the power, the scared girl begged her mom to help her. Instead of protecting her, Chief G slapped her daughter hard across the face. Acting cold, G pretended she knew nothing about the blackout plan. Because of this, the guards dragged the crying, betrayed girl away. Later that night, Chief G woke up the nerdy guy from his bed and asked for a favor. He agreed and followed her into a quiet room. There, G unrolled some building maps. She told him the current camp was too small to live in for a long time, and shared a secret plan to dig and make the camp bigger. She strongly warned him that the captain could never find out, because he would stop them. Her real reason was clear: a bigger, hidden area would be the perfect place to hide regular people who were just starting to turn into monsters. Knowing how mad the captain would be, the nerdy guy tried to back out, but G expected this and wouldn't let him leave. She picked him for a very specific reason. Without warning, G grabbed a knife and cut his hand, and watched as the cut healed instantly. She told him she knew he was infected and showing signs this whole time. Before, infected people were just kicked out, but after what happened with the old lady, the soldiers' new rule was to kill them. The nerdy guy thought about turning her in, but realized G was blackmailing him and held his life in her hands, so he had to agree. Now that he had to help, G led him down a steep set of stairs into a deeper, secret underground area. While they were walking down, G coldly kicked him hard in the back. He tumbled down the stairs. He didn't die or pass out, but he lay there in a lot of pain, crying and asking why she would betray him like that. Back up on the surface, Co was dying. Park figured out she had breathed in too much smoke from the boat fire. Since they were hiding in an old hospital, Park quickly searched the rooms and found an oxygen tank. Sadly, the tank was totally empty. Without oxygen soon, Co's organs would shut down. Time was running out. When morning came, Yunyu asked Cha if they were really just going to stand there and watch Co die. Avoiding a straight answer, Cha sadly said that Co basically chose to die by refusing to leave the burning boat. Changing the subject, Yunyu pulled out a wrinkled piece of paper she found earlier at the Green Apartments. It was a diary written by her missing brother, Lee, where he wrote down every single monster symptom he had. Since Cha was the last person to see Lee, Yunyu begged to know if her brother acted weird the last time they met. Cha said Lee acted totally normal. This left Yunyu still wondering if her brother was human or a full monster now. Meanwhile, Cha found the little girl in an overgrown garden and begged her to visit Co one last time. The angry child said no, remembering that Co once said she wished the girl was never born. Cha gently pushed back, warning her that if she didn't say goodbye, she would regret it forever. The girl asked if Cha really wanted her mom to die. They both knew a dark secret. Co could easily be saved if the girl infected her with the monster virus on purpose, but Cha knew that was wrong and wouldn't do it. He just asked the girl to come with him, saying she didn't have to save Co, just being there would be enough. Touched by his words, the little girl held his hand and agreed to go. Inside the ruined hospital, Yunyu told Park a huge secret that was weighing her down. Everyone in the camp believed she killed Chief G's husband in cold blood. The real truth was that the man was already a full crazy monster. That day in the tunnels, he completely lost his mind and attacked her. She only killed him to save her own life. Shocked, Park asked why she let everyone call her a murderer instead of telling the truth. Yunyu explained that if Chief G hadn't unlocked the stadium doors a long time ago, everyone would have died. Because she owed G her life, Yunyu couldn't bring herself to break the widow's heart by telling her that her husband turned into a monster. When Cha and the little girl walked into the room, Co had magically opened her eyes. The others stepped out into the hallway to give them privacy. Co managed to whisper a weak apology to her daughter, but then she started coughing up blood. The little girl didn't say anything back. She just held her dying mother's hand for a second before walking quickly out of the room. Surprised she left so fast, Cha heard a loud crash inside. He ran in and found Co lying on the floor, completely still and looking dead. He started to cry, but a second later, Co's burnt, dead body violently jerked back to life. Park and Yunyu watched in total shock. It made no no sense for a dying human who wasn't sick with the virus to suddenly turn into a monster. Trying to control the crazy situation, Cha admitted the dark truth. Sio's daughter was a monster, and just touching her mom was what caused the infection. In the middle of turning, Sio fought hard to hold onto her human mind. Terrified that she would kill her friends, she fought her own changing body and threw herself out of the high hospital window. Accepting his own monster side, Cha jumped out right after her. Down on the ground, Sio's twisted, black arm hit Cha, but he didn't fight back at all. He just let her hit him. While they struggled, Cha's eyes turned completely white, and he used his mind-reading power to look into Sio's broken brain. He saw her worst memories. After she realized her baby was a monster, Sio tried many painful times to kill it, but the baby couldn't be killed. Her strong, motherly love fought against her need to kill the monster, and it completely destroyed her mind. Usually, when humans turn into monsters, their minds get trapped in happy dreams where they get whatever they want. But Sio's dream was pure, never-ending torture. Seeing how much mental pain she was in, Cha made a heartbreaking choice. He used his own hands to kill her and finally end her suffering. After having to kill her, Cha went back to a hospital bed and fell into a deep sleep. This was the very first time Park had ever seen a full monster turn back into a normal-looking human. A huge wave of guilt hit the soldier as he thought about all the monsters he had killed. He wondered if the beasts he shot could have turned back into humans too. If so, was he actually a mass murderer? Yunyu tried to make him feel better, saying that when a crazy monster is trying to kill you, a soldier doesn't have a choice. Deciding to stay at the hospital to watch over Cha, Yunyu said goodbye to Park, who decided to walk back to the military camp alone. Hours later, Cha finally woke up, but the person looking at Yunyu was completely his cold, monster side. When she asked what he was going to do next, he just stayed creepy and quiet. Meanwhile, things were changing between the stranger in the grass suit and his daughter, Hani. Spending a little time with Park changed the teenage girl. She wasn't acting as mean anymore and actually liked Yunyu. Seeing how brave and helpful they were reminded Hani that it's good to care about people. She told her dad that hiding from the world forever was an empty life, making them no better than dead bodies. Her tough dad completely disagreed, saying that in this ruined world, not getting infected and staying alive was the only thing that mattered. Later, while they rested, the dad drank a lot from a bottle of alcohol. Soon after, he fell over and passed out completely. It was obvious Hani had put something in his drink to knock him out. Taking her chance to be free, she dragged her sleeping dad into an old shed and got into the driver's seat of a broken-down car. Because she was so wild, she only realized she didn't know how to drive after she turned the key. Not caring about the details, Hani jammed the car into gear and sped off on a crazy new adventure. Back on Chestnut Island, the search team wasn't finding anything. Everyone got depressed, thinking the captain's tip was wrong and that Choi was never even there. They started panicking, realizing they might have walked right into a huge nest of monsters. The team leaders tried hard to keep everyone calm, but their worst fears came true when they found a giant underground cave filled with all kinds of monsters, grouped together by how dangerous they were. As they quickly got ready to run away, an ugly monster climbed up and grabbed a skinny soldier's leg, weirdly thinking he was a pretty lady. Another soldier thought fast and blasted the monster with a flamethrower, barely saving his friend's life. While they were catching their breath, a strange man suddenly appeared. He yelled a warning about more monsters coming and hurried the confused soldiers into a strong lab room. The second they walked in, the stranger slammed the heavy metal doors, trapping them inside. At the same time, the sergeant and his soldier were looking for supplies in a ruined hospital wing. Hearing a noise from a closet, they got their guns ready. When they opened the doors, they found a scared girl with long hair hiding inside. She said she was hiding there because the monsters weirdly stayed away from that hallway. The most important thing she said was that she had recently seen a young guy wearing an army uniform. Sure, this was the missing soldier, Choi. The sergeant ordered her to show them where he was. The three of them quickly walked to a special lockdown area holding both full monsters and humans just starting to get sick. Looking through a heavy, locked metal gate, they finally saw Choi. Since the girl didn't have the keys, they couldn't open the gate, but she said there were other humans walking around the building. Telling his soldier to guard the door, the sergeant and the girl left to find help. Choi begged his boss to leave him behind, but the loyal sergeant refused to leave one of his men. Through the bars, Choi gave his friend a small bottle of medicine, the absolute best thing he could find for his sick girlfriend back at camp. He begged his friend to run away while he still could, warning him that staying meant he would definitely die. Following the girl, the sergeant quickly found the strange man from the hallway. Without wasting time, the sergeant demanded he let Choi out. When the strange man said no, The tough sergeant didn't hesitate. He pulled out his gun and shot the man twice right in the arm. Not even caring about the bleeding bullet holes, the strange man calmly said he was offering them a chance to become something better. The second he said that, scary, tracking tentacles shot right out of the young girl's back, easily grabbing the shocked sergeant. It was a deadly trap. Both the strange man and the innocent girl were actually super powerful monsters known as new humans. Realizing the plan was ruined, the lone soldier tried to go find his boss, but got attacked in the hallway by another super strong monster. Meanwhile, the two soldiers locked inside the lab were living their own nightmare. Creepy, echoing laughter started coming through the heavy metal door. Panicking, one of the soldiers shot a bunch of bullets right into the metal door. When the laughing suddenly stopped, he stupidly put his face up to the bullet holes to look outside. In a bloody flash, deadly tentacles shot straight through the holes, killing him instantly. Deep inside the building, Dr. Lim was still totally amazed by the giant, beating heart monster. Suddenly, a quiet shadow appeared in the doorway, looking like a mix between a man and a monster. The person didn't say a word, turned around, and walked down the hall, clearly wanting the doctor to follow. Dr. Lim followed the person into a clean lab, the exact same room where he used to do his sick tests on the special monsters, including Sio's fiancée. The mystery person leading him was actually Wook. This connects back to an earlier part of the story. When Wook's body got hurt too badly to heal, he found the living remains of Sio's fiancée. Wook ate the remains, taking both the monster's power and the fiancée's leftover mind. Wook brought the doctor here on purpose to show off the fiancée's original, empty monster body, which was now floating in a giant tank of chemicals. The story then cuts back to the giant heart monster. While the doctor was gone, the huge pile of flesh started shaking violently. With a gross ripping sound, a fully grown, naked man fell out of the flesh pod and hit the floor. The reborn man was actually Yunyu's missing brother, Lee. Because he grew inside the monster nest, Lee had officially turned into a super powerful new human, perfectly setting him up as the ultimate scary villain for the next season. And with that creepy reveal, the second season completely ends. That wraps up season 2. Today, I'm going to recap Season 3 of Sweet Home, but if you haven't seen Seasons 1 and 2 yet, the links will be in the description. In the last season, the group of survivors from Green Home got much smaller. Even Sio, the former firefighter, was turned into a monster by her own daughter. Because Sio lost her mind, the main character, Cha, wanted to put her out of her misery. But a second, dark personality took over Cha's body. Luckily, Yunyu's strong loyalty helped wake his real self back up. At the same time, the liquid monster took over Sangwook's body and seized control of Crow Island, planning to turn every human into a monster. The new season begins by revealing a huge secret about who this monster really is. It isn't just a random infected guy named Jung Myung. The monster is actually Nam Sang-won, Dr. Lim's very first test subject, MH1, and Ik-young's missing fiancé. A long time ago, the monster virus separated from Nam Sang-won's human body, possessed Jung Myung, and eventually moved into Sang-wook's body. Because of this, the villain we see wearing Sang-wook's face is actually Ik-young's fiancé, Nam Sang-won. Dr. Lim was confused about why Wook, or the test subject number 1, came back to a place he hated so much. Number 1 then introduced a new mutant. Shortly after, Sergeant Kim was dragged in, and his 3 soldiers were hanging in the air by ropes. One of number 1's followers gave Sergeant Kim a gun and told him he could only save one person. Dr. Lim asked what the point of this cruel game was. The mutant said that triggering someone's deepest desires is the first step in making a monster. During this talk, Sergeant Kim pointed his gun at the infected follower instead. Suddenly, one of the ropes broke and a soldier fell to his death. If Sergeant Kim didn't play along, his other 2 men would drop and die too. In the end, Sergeant Kim raised his gun again. The young soldier closed his eyes, expecting to be shot. Surprisingly, Sergeant Kim shot the rope instead. He ran and jumped into the pit of dead bodies below, grabbing his falling friend. When they landed, they woke up the sleeping monsters in the pit. The creatures rushed at them like zombies. Sergeant Kim fired his gun until he ran out of bullets. With no ammo left, he had to use his gun like a baseball bat. He fought for his life next to his soldier in the tight stone pit. Because number 1 had fun watching this, he told his female follower to finish them off. However, a muscular man suddenly showed up with a flamethrower. He ignored the female follower who tried to stop him and rushed right into the monster-filled pit. By then, the monsters had already killed the young soldier. The angry muscular man fired his flamethrower everywhere, but a monster quickly tackled him. The female follower, who was just watching before, finally stepped in. Instead of following Jung Myung's orders, she jumped in to save the muscular man. Dr. Lim saw this happen. He then took the female follower to see number 1 at the stadium. Over at the stadium, Chief G G was guiding her daughter toward an office. In the last season, the daughter helped her mother destroy the electrical wires but got caught by Sergeant Tack when she dropped a ring. Back then, Chief G didn't seem to want to rescue her. Because of that, the daughter was confused about why her mother was helping her now. Chief G told her that this path led to an exit. She pushed her to move fast so they wouldn't get caught. She pulled her scared daughter along until they stopped in a dark area. A bright flashlight lit up the space above them, showing a monster sitting up high. When she saw it, Chief G started crying and screaming loudly. Taking advantage of the moment, the daughter picked up a club and knocked her mother out. All this noise quickly caught Sergeant Tack's attention. At the same time, Cha and Yunyu were still looking for Seo. When the last season ended, Cha mentioned he could see what monsters wanted most. However, he had never looked as deeply into a monster's mind as he did with Seo. Cha thought that if he could help Seo realize her visions were fake, he could bring her mind back to normal. Yunyu wanted to help, but her strong human scent would only break Cha's focus. Because of this, they agreed to split up. Cha jumped down into a deep crack in the ground. He found Seo and entered her mind. Inside her head, two different versions of Seo were fighting, unsure if they should kill Isu, her monster daughter. Because of this mental battle, Seo's real body started shaking violently. Cha had to hold her down tightly so she wouldn't move. In another place, a young soldier named Park wanted to go back to Yunyu, even though she had told him to leave. However, he knew he might just get in the way. While Park wasn't sure what to do, his big fan Hani found him. They drove together to find Yunyu and planned to stay with her until Cha came back. Suddenly, a monster showed up, so the three of them hid behind their car. Right then, Seo's loud screams came out of the crack in the street, and the monster quickly crawled down into the hole. Cha was deep inside Seo's mind and couldn't be interrupted. Knowing the danger, Park and Yunyu bravely climbed down into the deep hole. They threw firebombs to scare the monster away from Cha and Seo. This plan didn't work for long, though. The monster's wild movements made the fire spread, burning right through one of their climbing ropes. Noticing the ruined rope, Park quickly tied the good rope to Yunyu. He signaled Hani up top to pull Yunyu to safety, choosing to stay behind and fight the monster alone. He was almost out of bullets, too. Their only chance to survive was if Cha woke Seo up fast. Luckily, Cha snapped back to reality right on time. He killed the monster with just one hit from his wing, and then safely carried both Park and Yunyu up to the street. Seo had finally beaten her inner struggles and turned back into a human. She looked like she had just woken up from a terrible nightmare. To be sure, Seo cut her own wrist and saw that it didn't heal right away. This proved she was fully human again. But Cha had used up all his energy saving her. He passed out into a coma and couldn't even pull his monster wing back into his body. Since she couldn't wait for him to wake up, Seo decided to go look for her daughter. She knew Isu didn't trust humans and would keep turning people into monsters. Seo figured Isu would probably go straight to the stadium, so she rushed off to stop anything bad from happening. Meanwhile, Hani's adoptive father woke up after she drugged him. He was the one who killed Hani's real parents after they turned into monsters. Hani and her adoptive father had promised each other that if either of them became a monster, the other would kill them. However, seeing Seo turn human again gave Hani hope that monsters could change back. Because of this, she decided not to kill him. Instead, she locked him inside a car with handcuffs. The story goes back to Number 1 and his team, who pulled over to get gas. Dr. Lim asked Number 1 why he was heading to the stadium. Number 1 explained that when Seo visited Crow Island, she saw the test subjects in the tanks and thought he was dead. Because he noticed she was pregnant, he left a mark on her so he could find their child in the future. Now, he was going to the stadium to find Isu. Right as they were getting ready to drive away, they grabbed a suspicious man wearing glasses. He was hiding behind a huge cocoon and looked like he had been there for a while. Number 1 pulled the man into their car. During the ride, Dr. Lim asked the guy about the cocoon. The man didn't know much, but he said that monsters never attacked it. That was his secret to staying alive. He just hid near the cocoon. At that very moment inside the stadium, Sergeant Tack tracked a noise to a secret room. There, he found Chief G, her daughter, and the monster. By asking questions, he found out the monster was actually Chief G's son. A few years ago, when Chief G's family came to the camp for safety, her son started acting like he was infected. At that time, the military killed anyone with symptoms. To protect her boy, Chief G locked him in that hidden room and took care of him in secret. Later on, when the soldiers kicked out anyone who showed signs of infection, she pretended to help them. She actually tricked them into going down a secret basement tunnel to feed them to her monster son. Chief G didn't feel bad because she thought no mother would just let her child die. Even though her son wasn't violent, the soldiers couldn't let this go. Sergeant Tak decided to let Chief G make the final choice and told her to think about what to do next. Because the electricity in the stadium wasn't fully fixed, the soldiers turned off some lights and big fans. They didn't know that doing this gave Isu a perfect chance to sneak inside through one of the stopped fans. Not long after she got in, she saw a young boy getting bullied by other kids. The boy yelled that if he turned into a monster, he would kill everyone. Isu loved hearing him say that. She was just about to step in when Chief G's daughter walked up. Seeing the two children sitting in the corner, she told them to come with her. A lady who sold fish saw that Isu was new and didn't have any parents with her. Because of this, the kind lady let the little girl sleep at her place for the night. Right then, Sergeant Tak found out that a search group had come back, but they only had one car. He quickly took his soldiers to block the front gate. The only person they recognized in the car was Dr. Lim. There was no sign of the other sergeant and his subordinate. Without saying much, number 1 broke through the main doors of the stadium. Inside, Isu seemed to feel that her father was close. When a soldier tried to shoot at them, a sharp monster tentacle stabbed through his arm. Seeing this, Sergeant Tak walked up to try and talk things out. He noticed that the female follower was wearing the muscular man's coat. Knowing his soldiers couldn't beat these special monsters, Sergeant Tak asked number 1 what he wanted. He ordered them to gather all the children in one place. Meanwhile, the new mutant stitched up the hurt soldier's arm. Everyone wanted to know if Sergeant Kim was safe, but Dr. Lim wouldn't give them a straight answer. Luckily, Sergeant Kim was still alive. For some secret reason, Dr. Lim had ended up helping both him and the muscular man. Because the muscular man was infected by a monster and had the same blood type as Sergeant Kim, Dr. Lim did a quick blood transfusion. He let the muscular man die to save Sergeant Kim's life. Back at the stadium, the mutant spoke over the speakers. He announced that from now on, the soldiers would be treated just like regular survivors. People were still not allowed to leave or enter the stadium. However, they promised a better life for anyone showing signs of infection. Infected people wouldn't need to hide anymore and could walk around freely, because turning into a monster was now seen as a human upgrade. Dr. Lim knew that Sergeant Tak was infected too. In the last season, he promised to get a special medicine that would turn him into a special monster. But Dr. Lim had hidden this medicine inside the female follower's body, making it very hard to get back. At the same time, someone else was going through the painful process of turning into a monster. Hani had been keeping her sickness a secret. Her adoptive father knew about it, but he couldn't bring himself to kill her. Suddenly, Hani got very dizzy. She thought it was just the side effects of the drugs she used on her dad. She stepped outside to find a cure for him. She didn't know that her father was also infected. While she was gone, he popped his wrist out of joint, slipped out of the handcuffs, and limped away. When Hani came back, she just saw a trail of blood leading to a nearby car. Inside, her dad was fighting hard against turning into a monster. She rushed to a nearby store, ignoring Yunyu telling her to stop. She tried to force Cha awake so he could help her father, but her father's crazy behavior drew other monsters near, making everyone run. Yunyu told Park to grab Hani while she tried to wake up Cha. Her father used the last bit of his human mind to beg Hani to kill him. Still, she just couldn't do it. With no other choice, he drove his car straight into a gas tank and blew himself up. This huge explosion caught the attention of even more monsters. Park fought as hard as he could to keep Hani safe. Yunyu finally managed to wake Cha up, but she quickly realized she had woken up his dark, second personality instead. A monster with huge eyes was just about to eat Park. The dark version of Cha complained about the loud noises, rushed over, and completely destroyed the monster with one hit from his wing. Right after, he grabbed Park and got ready to kill him too. Yunyu ran up the stairs, grabbed a strong sleeping shot, and poked Cha with the needle just in time. The next day, she packed the sleeping drugs, tied Cha up tightly, and got ready to move. Yunyu wanted to go to the stadium to meet up with Seo, but before they could leave, Cha's dark personality woke up again. Even though he was mean and aggressive, Yunyu wasn't scared. She knew it was still Cha's body, and Cha would never hurt her. Even his evil side found it impossible to hurt her. The dark Cha found this funny and agreed to travel with her, but he gave her a strict 3-day limit. If she didn't bring the normal Cha back in 3 days, he promised to erase the good personality forever. If she succeeded, he would leave Cha alone. Far away, Sergeant Kim got his energy back and was getting ready to leave Crow Island. Suddenly, he ran into Lee, who had turned into a monster. Lee begged Sergeant Kim to kill him, but because Sergeant Kim saw that Lee could still think like a human, he put him in the car and drove off. At the same time, Sergeant Tak went to untie Chief G. Years ago, she and her husband hid their infected son in the stadium. They knew they would get caught eventually, but they still let new survivors stay there. Sergeant Tak understood that Chief G was actually a good person. He begged her to tell him where the secret exit was so he could save the normal survivors. Right as he finished talking, Seo arrived at the stadium. She chased Dr. Lim into the lab and beat him up until he passed out. Right before he fainted, Dr. Lim told her that her husband was there looking for their child. He warned her to find the kid before number 1 did. Seo had watched her husband become a science experiment with her own eyes, so she didn't believe he was still alive. Plus, the truth was that number 1 wasn't the same man she used to love. Suddenly, footsteps came close. Number 1 walked into the room to talk to the doctor. Seo quickly hid behind the door to listen. Dr. Lim asked number 1 why he visited Green Home back when he was in Jung Myung's body. Number 1 said he didn't have his memories back then and was just following his instincts. Looking back, he realized he was actually trying to find Seo. Number 1 said it was lucky he didn't kill her then, or he would never have known about their child. Hearing this, Seo peeked around the door to see what her husband had become. Then, number 1 explained his real reason for finding Isu. He said she would grow into the perfect creature and become his brand new body. That was why he needed Dr. Lim to figure out how to get him out of Wook's body. Shortly after, number 1 started looking through all the kids. He easily spotted Isu in the group. Meanwhile, Sergeant Kim kept driving with Lee. He stopped to look for radios in an empty car on the street. To his surprise, Lee got out and stumbled into a nearby church, with another monster following him. Sergeant Kim ran inside to save Lee. He noticed a cut on Lee's neck that looked exactly like the cuts his soldiers had. He figured a special monster made it. He just didn't understand why they locked Lee up instead of killing him. Sergeant Kim didn't have time to think about it because another monster was hiding in the church. But Lee promised him that if he just stayed still, he would be totally safe. Right then, the monster showed itself. Sergeant Kim took cover and shot at it. Suddenly, a tentacle burst out of Lee's neck. Lee then changed into a massive cocoon while Sergeant Kim watched in shock. As soon as the monster saw the giant cocoon, it stopped moving completely. Back at the stadium, Seo was quietly following number 1. She watched as he tried to trick Isu. At that exact time, the new mutant picked up a radio signal from Sergeant. This proved the female follower had disobeyed orders and didn't kill everyone on Crow Island. Number 1 gave her one chance to fix her mistake. He told her to watch the stadium gate and kill Sergeant as soon as he showed up. She had to do it in front of everyone, too. After that, number 1 took Isu for a ride in a car. The mutant was worried, so he ordered the male follower to follow them. Elsewhere, Sergeant Tak got maps of the stadium and the unknown areas. After helping him, Chief G locked herself deep in the basement. She probably thought this was the only way to make up for the bad things she had done. While this happened, the Dark Cha got used to being awake. He found fresh clothes, cut his hair, and even stole a can of ham. Meanwhile, Hani was feeling terrible from drug withdrawals because she stopped taking her pills. Yoon-yu felt awful watching her suffer, so she went out to look for medicine. Park used this chance to ask the Dark Cha if he was the one who helped Yoon-yu kill Chief G's husband. The Dark Cha said no right away. He explained that the normal Cha did that. Right in the middle of talking, they noticed Yoon-yu was gone. Around the same time, number 1 drove Isu to a high place. Knowing the monsters wouldn't hurt her, he told her to show off her powers. He promised to give her anything she wanted if she did well. Isu put her hand on the dirt and easily woke up all the sleeping monsters. Her power spread so far that it reached where Yoon-yu was. A huge flock of birds flew out of the trees, and the ground shook as a giant monster appeared. It was clear that Isu had an incredible amount of power. Sadly for Yoon-yu, she was now running for her life from this newly awake monster. The Dark Cha didn't really want to help, but his body's natural instincts made him move. Before he could reach Yoon-yu, number 1's male follower showed up and started killing monsters left and right. Isu's wave of energy had made the follower angry and hyper. Yoon-yu used this distraction to climb up and hide. The follower was fighting a giant, muscular monster that must have loved working out when it was human. Even so, the Dark Cha jumped in and easily ripped the muscle monster to pieces without even trying. The male follower looked at the Dark Cha and tried to be friendly to him, but in the blink of an eye, the Dark Cha chopped off his right hand. It took a second for the follower to notice the big wing and realize he was looking at Cha. The Dark Cha grabbed the man and demanded to know where number 1 was. The follower quickly spilled the secret, saying his boss went to the stadium to look for his kid. After hearing that, the Dark Cha dragged him along. At another location, number 1 came back to the stadium with Isu. He noticed 3 strangers at the gate, saying they were looking for their families. Number 1 just ripped all 3 of them apart. Sergeant Tak stepped up and asked why he murdered people so easily. Number 1 answered that those 3 weren't humans, just worthless trash. Then, he turned to Isu and asked what her special special wish was. She went over to the kids who bullied the little boy Young-soo earlier. Using her dad's scary presence to back her up, she took their baseball away from them. Right as Lee-soo handed the ball to Young-soo, Seo ran up and hugged her tightly. Lee-soo was very confused. She knew she had turned her mother into a monster, so she wondered why her mom looked completely human again. If Seo was still a monster, Lee-soo wouldn't be mad at her. Seo felt terribly guilty about everything. She kept apologizing to her daughter, begging Lee-soo to run away with her. Seo gave Lee-soo some time to choose. She told Lee-soo to meet her at the air vent later if she wanted to give her mom a second chance. At the same time, Sergeant Tak and his helper tried to leave the stadium. However, the mutant blocked their way, saying that regular people couldn't just walk in and out. He warned that anyone who broke this rule would be punished, and then he ordered the female follower to attack them. Sergeant Tak easily caught her tentacle and showed off a cut on his hand that healed instantly. This proved to everyone that he was infected too. Since the mutant had said infected people could go anywhere, Sergeant Tak walked right past them to look for Dr. Lim. He soon found out that Seo had locked the doctor inside the pharmacy. Just as you would expect, once Dr. Lim got out, he went straight back to studying the cocoon he had brought in his bag. He was obsessed with figuring out what it was. Meanwhile, Lee finally stepped out of the massive cocoon. Except for having dark circles under his eyes, he looked like a totally normal human. But for some reason, the monster in the church was terrified of him, which confused Sergeant Kim. Lee explained that the huge cocoon is actually called a heart. When someone goes into the heart, they are born again as a new human. But the special monsters messed up this natural cycle. The monsters are terrified of new beings like Lee, so they call them worthless trash. Number 1 had figured out that these new humans were very weak while inside their hearts. He only let Lee live so he could find their secret hiding spot and kill every single one of them. Sergeant Kim told Lee that the special monsters were staying at the stadium. Hearing this, the two men got ready to go there together. During the drive, Sergeant Kim noticed that Lee couldn't die and learn things incredibly fast. However, Lee didn't seem to have any human emotions left. His only goal was to find and gather the other new humans who were reborn from the hearts. Going back to number 1 at the stadium, he had actually found out that Sergeant Tak had monster symptoms. Because of this, number 1 showed him the cocoons made by the 3 people he had ripped apart at the gate earlier. Back when number 1 was on Crow Island, a large group of these new humans had showed up looking for something. He got annoyed and killed them all, but he soon found out that they just turned into cocoons and came back to life. After learning this, Sergeant Tak finally understood the most important part of the whole situation. After turning into a monster, the final step was becoming an immortal human. Right then, one of these new humans, called a dreg, hatched from a cocoon. Since these dregs went to the stadium looking for their families, it meant others like them were already hiding inside. Sergeant Tak suddenly remembered Chief G's son in the basement, but he kept this a secret from number 1. He thought this was a good way to repay Chief G for being kind to him in the past. Meanwhile, Yoon-yu realized the dark version of Cha was heading to the stadium to fight number 1. Since she was really worried about the survivors inside, she told Park and Hani they had to hurry. The dark Cha was dragging the sidekick man behind him, but Cha didn't view the weaker guy as a real threat and stopped paying attention. This gave the sidekick man a chance to sneak attack him, leaving the dark Cha completely frozen and unable to move for a bit. Over at the stadium, the young boy went back to his hiding spot and saw his baseball. He went to thank Lee-soo, but caught her talking to a doll. She was trying to decide if she should run away with her mom. Since the boy's parents died early in the outbreak, he knew how special it was to still have a mother. He told Lee-soo to stop being stubborn and go with her mom. Then, he gave her a special badge he had hidden inside the baseball. It was a keepsake from his sister, and he wanted Lee-soo to have it. In the end, the little girl went to the air vent to escape with Seo, but number 1 suddenly showed up. Seo almost fell for his sweet talk, but quickly grabbed a knife and stabbed him right in the eye. She yelled at Lee-soo to run and fought hard to hold number 1 back so her daughter could escape. Sadly, number 1 chopped off Seo's arm and used a tentacle to grab the girl. He stopped acting like a loving father and finally showed his true evil self. Using her one good arm, Seo shot at number 1 and slowly dragged her bleeding body toward her child. But a second later, number 1 stabbed her right through the back. With her last breath, Seo begged Lee-soo to run, and then died right in her daughter's arms. Number 1 grabbed the scared girl, but realized he couldn't take over her body. Angry, he had no choice but to lock her in a room for now. After trying to run away all night, the sidekick man was caught by the dark Cha again. Because he left a trail of blood, Yoon-yu and her group easily followed them. Right then, Hani climbed up to the road and said a car was coming. A second later, Lee drove right past them in a car, but his eyes looked totally empty. He didn't recognize recognize his sister Yoon-yu at all. Sergeant Kim was driving down the road and suddenly ran into the dark Cha. As soon as he saw a special infected, he stepped on the gas and crashed right into him. Sergeant Kim then got out and walked up to the psychic man. He looked really angry and was ready to get payback for his dead soldiers. Meanwhile, the dark Cha got his big wings stuck inside the crashed car and couldn't pull it out. When the dark Cha saw Lee, it brought back memories of their time at Green Home. The two guys started fighting hard inside a bus. Outside, a worried Yoon-yu yelled, trying to get her brother to look at her. The dark Cha quickly noticed that Lee was way faster now and definitely wasn't the same nerdy kid with glasses anymore. But Cha wasn't the same either, and he refused to let Lee push him around again. Yoon-yu finally reached the bus while they were fighting. She couldn't believe her brother was actually alive. Even the dark version of Cha felt disgusted by how coldly Lee ignored his own sister. Cha pulled his big wing back into his body, getting ready to beat some sense into Lee with his bare hands. While Cha and Lee punched each other inside the bus, Sergeant Kim was beating up the sidekick man outside. With every punch and gunshot, Sergeant Kim yelled the name of his dead friends. The sidekick man tried to pull a dirty trick, but Park spotted him just in time. Sadly, normal bullets couldn't kill a special infected person. Park grabbed the angry sergeant and pulled him back to safety. The sidekick man was still mad, so he decided to go after the dark Cha for payback. He used his power to melt the metal doors of the bus, locking Lee and Cha inside. He seemed to enjoy trapping the two guys together. After locking them in, he walked away feeling very proud of himself. Hot, melted metal started dripping from the bus ceiling. Even though he didn't want to, the dark Cha used his wing to protect Lee from the heat and smashed a big hole through the roof. While they figured out how to escape, Sergeant Kim forced Yoon-yu and the rest of the group to leave. He warned them that Lee just wasn't human anymore. The dark Cha held the hole open so Lee could jump out first, saying he would find his own way out later. Yoon-yu watched her brother climb out of the bus. Without a second thought, she jumped out of her moving car. She grabbed Lee just before he walked away, but quickly realized Sergeant Kim was right. This cold person wasn't the loving brother who used to risk his life to keep her safe. Somewhere else, Number 1 threatened Dr. Lim, telling him to find a way for him to leave Wook's body. Dr. Lim explained that he needed the right trigger. He pointed out that every time Number 1 switched bodies before, like leaving Seo's fiancé or taking over Wook, he was always very close to dying. Dr. Lim guessed that facing near death was the key to jumping into a new body. Meanwhile, Sergeant Kim and his team followed the sidekick man all the way to the stadium, but they knew they couldn't just run in without knowing what was going on inside. The MH3 mutants saw the badly beaten sidekick man return and hurried him inside to talk to Number 1. The sidekick man bragged that he had locked Cha away. He was mostly telling the truth, since the dark Cha was still stuck inside the melted bus. Just down the road, Lee told Yoon-yu he had reached the final stage of turning into a monster. This made him a perfect new human. He remembered his past life, but he didn't have any feelings left. He could learn things super fast, but couldn't feel love or sadness. He only acted nicely toward Cha because Cha's powers were useful, while he thought Yoon-yu was useless. Plus, Lee didn't understand why they should care for each other since they weren't blood relatives. Yoon-yu realized talking to him was like talking to a brick wall. She stayed quiet and just threw his old glasses at his chest. Back inside the stadium, Number 1 got ready to set himself on fire to trigger his near-death moment. Dr. Lim told Sergeant Tak to use this distraction to grab Jae-young and take the special medicine out of her body. Since Sergeant Tak really wanted the medicine for himself, he quickly used a drug to knock Jae-young out. Hiding in the shadows, Young-soo watched this happen and decided to try and save Lee-soo. But the young girl was feeling very lonely and just wanted a friend to stay with her. She grabbed the boy's wrist tightly. Later, when the sidekick man brought her food, he found her room empty. Since nobody saw them leave through the gates, he knew they had to be hiding nearby. Number 1 ordered all the survivors to gather in one place. Surprisingly, the guy with glasses spotted Lee-soo sneaking around the building. At the same time, the kind fish-selling lady noticed Young-soo was missing. She asked Chief Ji's daughter to help her look for him. When a loud announcement told everyone to gather, Dr. Lim hurried to the meeting point. Once all the survivors gathered, Number 1 made a big announcement. He said that anyone with infection symptoms who could survive for 15 days without turning into a monster could join his group and get superpowers. He also said his daughter could give normal people these symptoms. The only problem was that Lee-soo had run away. So, Number 1 ordered the crowd to find her, saying it was their only chance to become powerful new humans. Hearing this, the man with glasses started searching for her right away. Meanwhile, Cha finally escaped the bus. While he was trapped, the dark version of Cha realized something. He understood that protecting Lee and not hurting Yoon-yu were things only the real Cha cared about. Even though he tried to push his weaker side away, he couldn't deny they shared the same body. Eventually, both sides of Cha blended together, and he turned back into the gentle guy Yun knew. The first thing he did was hand Lee a sharp feather to use as a weapon. Then all three of them headed toward the stadium. Looking at the two guys she cared about most, Yun felt really peaceful. She figured that since new humans learn things so fast, Lee could definitely relearn how to feel human emotions. Far away from this nice moment, Sergeant Tak was busy setting up his soldiers. He told his platoon to wear regular clothes so the monsters wouldn't notice them. He ordered them to spread out, gather the normal survivors at hidden spots, and wait for his signal. Their big plan for the night was to sneak everyone safely out of the stadium. Meanwhile, Number 1 wanted to punish his special infected followers for losing Isu. He ordered the MH3 mutant to kill both the psychic man and Jaeyoung. Around that time, Dr. Lim finally got the medicine out of Jaeyoung's stomach. He asked Sergeant Tak why Number 1 called such a big meeting. Sergeant Tak explained that Isu was missing and that she could infect normal people. Hearing this, Dr. Lim felt super hopeful. His biggest dream was to become a special infected, but he never got the symptoms. Since Isu could give him the symptoms, he decided to use the medicine on himself right away. Without thinking twice, he swallowed it. Sergeant Tak got incredibly angry and knocked Dr. Lim out with one punch. Sergeant Tak had more important things to do, so he hurried back to his post. But Hani blocked his way. She had secretly snuck into the stadium. Hani told him that Sergeant Kim and Park were hiding nearby. Before doing anything else, Sergeant Tak went straight to Number 1 and exposed Dr. Lim's lie. He explained that only the blood from Seo's original fiancé could turn someone into a special infected. It had nothing to do with surviving for 15 days. As expected, Number 1 got furious, but Dr. Lim had already drank the special blood. After that, Sergeant Tak found Sergeant Kim, who was feeling really guilty. Sergeant Kim thought that if he had just listened to Sergeant Tak and stayed away from Crow Island, his men wouldn't have died. But Sergeant Tak didn't blame him and actually admitted that he was infected too. He said they couldn't change the past, and their main job right now was getting the survivors to safety. While all this was happening, Isu turned a big group of people into monsters and got ready to take revenge on her dad. At the same time, Yun was walking down the road when she felt something was wrong. She got dizzy and started hearing weird voices, clear signs that she was turning into a monster. Not wanting to be a burden, she told Cha and Lee to go on without her. Even though Cha was worried, he had no choice but to listen to her. Lee just coldly said that turning into a monster would help Yun protect herself. Hearing Lee act so heartless made Cha even more determined. He had to save Seo and her daughter, bring the real Lee back, and reunite him with his sister. Back at the stadium, one of Sergeant Tak's soldiers was gathering normal people when he ran into the new monsters. He immediately turned and ran away. He didn't know that Chief G's daughter saw him running. Meanwhile, Isu walked past her monster puppets and went up to the kind fish-selling lady. Right when she was about to infect her, a big ball of green slime wrapped around Isu. The fish lady soon realized the green slime was actually Yongsu. She wasn't scared of the monster, but she couldn't talk to him. Suddenly, Number 1 showed up. The lady recognized Wook's face right away, remembering him as the brave man who brought her daughter's body back to Green Home. Sadly, she didn't know someone else was controlling his body, and Number 1 stabbed her right through the heart. The kind lady died right in front of Yongsu. Angry, Isu called her monster puppets to attack, but they were too weak to beat Number 1. In another area, the MH3 mutant found the sidekick man, but he couldn't bring himself to kill his partner, so he told him to run away. The sidekick man was furious about being abandoned, so he started kicking and punching an electrical box on the wall. Sergeant Tak's team noticed the stadium lights flickering. Worried that things were going wrong, he told Sergeant Kim and the soldiers to hurry up and get the survivors out. While escaping, they walked right past where the fish lady was killed. Park was looking at the dead monsters on the ground when he heard a familiar voice. He checked a dark corner and found Chief G's daughter. He stopped her right before she could kill herself and brought her along with the group. Right then, Number 1 dragged Dr. Lim over to a giant fire. He felt around the doctor's body to find where the medicine was. Then, he shoved his hand into Dr. Lim's stomach, pulled out the medicine bottle, and crushed it. Even though he was dying, Dr. Lim wouldn't give up. He crawled over to Isu and begged her to turn him into a monster. A second later, Number 1 grabbed the doctor and threw him straight into the fire. Number 1 asked the MH3 mutant if he had killed the two sidekicks. The mutant lied with a straight face, and Number 1 killed him on the spot. After that, he grabbed Isu's hand to pull her into the fire with him. Isu planted her feet and refused to move, but since Number 1 was now burning alive, he triggered his escape. He left Wook's body and forced his way into Isu's body. By evening, Cha and Lee finally reached the stadium, but it looked completely empty. Even Jaeyoung was gone. Looking at the blood on the floor, Lee figured that special infected people had been fighting there. They kept walking and ran into the monsters Isu had made, who were standing perfectly still like puppets. To save time, Lee suggested they split up. Whoever found number 1 first would fight him. Cha went a different way and bumped into Isu. He quickly asked her where Seo was. Isu promised to take him to her mom. At the same time, the human survivors were gathered, and the soldiers were quietly leading them to the exit. Sergeant recognized a woman in the crowd and gave her the medicine Corporal Choi had found earlier. He hoped it would help her live a bit longer so Choi didn't die for nothing. When the group got near the exit, Sergeant Tak started feeling really sick. He stared down a dark hallway and thought he saw himself. As it got closer, he realized it was just one of their soldiers. Right as Sergeant Tak sighed with relief, he coughed up a lot of blood. Knowing he was out of time, he told Sergeant Kim to get everyone out while he stumbled backward. A moment later, his vision went black, and he pulled out a homemade bomb. Sergeant Kim grabbed Sergeant Tak's arm and yelled at the crowd to back up. He pushed Sergeant Tak away just as the bomb went off. When the smoke cleared, Sergeant Kim saw Tak's body covered in thick ice, slowly melting into the stone wall. Tak's only wish was to be a true soldier, and in the end, he didn't turn into a monster that hurt innocent people. Somewhere else in the building, Lee found a secret room behind an office wall. A huge crowd of monsters rushed out at him, but he easily killed them all. Meanwhile, Isu led Cha all the way to the big fire. He asked if she was the one who turned the people in the stadium into monsters, and she said yes. Cha finally realized something was very wrong and demanded to know where Seo really was. Isu simply said she killed her mother. Looking into the little girl's dark eyes, Cha could tell that number 1 was hiding inside her. Still, he believed the real Isu was in there somewhere, hiding in a corner of her mind. Cha quickly used his powers to enter her mind and save her. Inside, he found her trapped in a glass greenhouse. While Cha tried to pull the vines off her, number 1, who looked like Seo's fiancé in the mind world, grabbed Cha and started choking him. Just in time, someone broke the illusion. It was Lee. He had stabbed Isu's real shoulder, pulling Cha back to reality. Lee raised his weapon to finish off number 1, but Cha stopped him. Cha wanted to force the evil parasite out of the little girl first. Because Lee and Cha were fighting each other, number 1 got the perfect chance. He stood up and called all the monster puppets in the stadium to surround them. Using his sharp feather, Lee started the monsters down. He felt no guilt about his own kind. Lee saw number 1 standing in the distance and got ready to throw his weapon, but Cha stopped him again. Lee pushed Cha aside and charged forward. Cha tried to follow, but a wall of monsters blocked him. He flapped his giant wing to push them away, but a bat-like monster tangled him up. By then, Lee had reached Isu. Without stopping, he threw his feather weapon right at her. Number 1 shot out a tentacle to block it, but the real Isu fought back inside her mind and forced him to pull the tentacle away. The sharp feather hit Isu, successfully forcing number 1 out of her body. With a loud yell, Cha finally broke free from the bat monster. He dropped to the ground and gently held the bleeding Isu. Yang-su walked out of the shadows and pressed his hands on her wound. The sad truth was that Isu had planned to die with her father all along. She was too tired of living and just wanted to rest. She believed that was the only way to see her mom again. After saying those sad words, she passed away. Lee chased after number 1's escaping spirit, but noticed the dead monster puppets were starting to mutate. Cha knew he'd have to deal with Lee later, but stopping number 1 was the most important thing right now. Outside the building, Hani saw that people could pass through the frozen gate Tak made. She quickly guided all the humans out of the dangerous stadium. However, when the infected psychic man tried to leave, Tak's frozen body blocked him. Even as a frozen gate, Sergeant Tak still remembered his mission. Never let a monster escape. Sergeant Kim saw a guy standing totally still near the exit and knew something was wrong. He walked over and pulled the hat off the psychic man's head. The infected man got ready to fight back, but realized the frozen gate was protecting Sergeant Kim. Right then, Park and the rest of the group showed up carrying Jaeyoung. They put the past behind them and didn't leave her. Jaeyoung told the humans to keep going while she stayed to deal with the angry psychic man. Since he was abandoned and attacked by his own kind, the psychic man was completely furious. He started shooting out huge amounts of hot, liquid metal. The brave sergeant grabbed a metal pipe and jumped high into the air. He wrapped his legs tightly around the psychic man from above, yelling at Park to get everyone out. Jaeyoung was at her limit, but she stretched her long tentacles over the burning liquid metal. This created a safe bridge for Park and Chief Ji's daughter to run across. Taking advantage of this, Sergeant Kim shoved a bomb right into the psychic man's mouth and kicked him backward. Jaeyoung quickly used her tentacles to hold the man down. A second later, the bomb exploded. Sergeant Kim quickly rolled through the gate and landed safely outside. Back inside the stadium, Number 1 took over the dead MH3 mutant's body and walked out of the fire, totally burned. Cha tackled him and stabbed his chest with his wing. But Number 1 quickly escaped that body and ran away like a ghost. Lee pointed out that fighting like this wouldn't work because Cha would have to kill a new body every time the parasite jumped. Lee had a permanent solution. He suggested trapping number 1 inside his own strong body. Then, Lee would walk straight into the giant fire and stay there until the parasite burned to death. Suddenly, number 1 came back into the room using Wook's body. He chose Wook because he knew Cha cared about his old friend. But this time, Cha only saw the monster in front of him. Right before they fought, Wook's body started fighting against number 1's control again. Cha realized that Wook's mind was still alive inside. With Wook's help, Cha dragged the body straight into the giant fire. The hot flames finally burned the villain away for good. After he died, the little girl Isu was somehow brought back to life. Far away, Yunyu had walked all the way back to Green Home. She sat on the floor of her old apartment. Her nose was bleeding, and there was a terrible ringing in her ears. While she was in pain, she suddenly felt a warm hand touch hers. It was her brother Lee. Not sure if she was dreaming or if it was real, she collapsed into his arms. Cha went back to the spot where he left Yunyu, but she was gone. He knew he had to find her. He said goodbye to Lee, telling him not to wander too far. Cha promised to come back for him after finding Yunyu. After Cha left, Lee pulled an old family photo out of his pocket. Staring at it, he finally realized what he had lost, the ability to love. Around the same time, Sergeant Kim was leading the survivors to find a new safe home. He decided to take over Tak's job of protecting these innocent people. Cha suggested they go check out Green Home. On their way, the group ran into a lot of new humans and invited them to come along. Having these powerful new humans around gave them great protection against regular monsters. In the end, everyone got a fresh start at Green Home. The show briefly shows Young Soo holding a young girl's hand. Because of a special tattoo on her skin, it's clearly Isu. Cha likely helped the boy turn back into a normal human and brought Isu to their new home. In the final scene, Cha pushes open the heavy rooftop door and smiles when he sees Lee and Yunyu waiting for him. Everything went back to how it started, almost like the terrible nightmare never happened. The show ends right there, bringing all the characters' stories together perfectly. And with this, the series ends. Hope you guys enjoyed all 3 seasons. If you did, then like the video and subscribe to the channel.